I want to call to order the Seabrook City Council meeting of February 20th to order, 6 p.m. Please rise for the pledge.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. Item 1.0, public comments and announcements. At this time, we'd like to listen to any member of the audience on any subject matter, whether or not that item is on the agenda. All comments are limited to a maximum of 4 minutes for each speaker, shall be limited to city business or city-related business or matters of general public interest, and shall not include any personal attacks. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, members may not discuss or take action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. When your name is called, please come to the podium and state your name and address clearly into the microphone before making your comments. Chance Bennett.
Is the applicant for the PUD, so he probably will speak during the PUD process.
Morgan Neufeld.
We're here on behalf of Clothers Gardens and Girl Scouts.
If you'll come to the mic.
To the mic.
Sorry.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, hello. I really don't think I need it, but okay. So we are Girl Scout Troop 140, 149 here in Seabrook. This is Kohana, this is Lola, this is my daughter, Lyra. We are a group of daisies and brownies. I was actually introduced to Clothers Gardens. I had not heard of it until about 2 years ago. My son is in Cub Scouts as well, and we had a meeting there. And they had the boys plant watermelon seeds and make like little name tags for the garden and where their seeds were planted. And they encouraged us to keep coming by as often as we wanted for over the next 6 months or so to just kind of watch the progress. And at the end of, I want to say the 6 months, I can't remember exactly the time period for growing a watermelon, forgive me, but they had a little watermelon eating party for the Cub Scouts, which was super cute, super fun, and they provided everything for us. Hi, by the way, I didn't see you guys. So then when we formed our Girl Scout troop about a year ago, most exactly, they came to my mind as far as something for the girls to pursue with badge work, and so reached out to them, reached out to Jesse, and he immediately jumped on it and said, absolutely, we can do this, let's make it happen for your girls. Took care of everything, we solidified some dates. There was one date, and the girls have learned about pollinators, right? We made seed bombs, which was super fun and messy on that very rainy day. They've created butterfly bracelets, was it, or was it rings? Rings, super cute. But they've learned a lot about that, and they're actually right now currently pursuing this Take Action badge, which is where you come up with a project of something that you want to be sort of a long-term project and pursuance to help the environment or to help the community or animal shelter or whatnot. And they're currently doing that, and their next big thing among the other meetings that we've done leading up to this is going to be to actually plant the pollinator garden, and then their commitment will be over the next year to tend to that pollinator garden and see all the beautiful little butterflies and bees that come along with it. So we're very excited. I see what Clothers Gardens has done. They provide space for people who maybe don't have a garden available where they live and have a passion, though, for gardening. And what they've done for our Cub Scouts, our Girl Scouts has been amazing. And again, we have not paid anything for it. It's all been provided, and they're so accommodating and just wonderful people. So I think they're a great asset to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Hadley.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hadley. I'm here on behalf of the pool. Oh, my address is 1853 Aspen Lane here in Seabrook. And so I just come here to discuss the Seabrook pool. I know that it is up for closing for the summer, and the Stingrays are looking for potentially somewhere for swim team to go. Swim team has been a really great thing for my daughter. We really hope to continue it. I'm hoping that we can come up with options for the Stingray team if the pool does close, which I understand it does need updating, and I would love a new pool. We go to the pool all summer long. We have friends that come down there. So I'm hoping that we don't forget about the Stingrays and they lose their season, because that would really put kids back a lot in swimming. This is like a really good time for them to step up their swimming skills, so to say. And it's been just like such an amazing sport. So I'm not sure what we're gonna decide on, but let's go for new pool, and also don't forget about the Stingrays, please. So if anyone has any ideas on where they can go, I'm not sure if the Alago pool is available, but that would be really great since it's still in Seabrook. I know Clear Lake Forest has the Fins team, so I'm not really sure how that would work out, but that's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that didn't sign up that wants to speak on any subject? That being said, we'll move on.
Wait, Tom, someone in the back.
Okay, come on up.
Your name and address.
So I'm Helen Hanks. I live at 1820 Elmore Lane. And really quick, I just want to add that my daughter is also on the Seabrook Stingrays team. She's been doing it for about 4 years now, and she loves it. It's sort of like the only sport I can get her to do. It's also, since about a year and a half ago, she got bused to a different middle school because she has certain special needs. And she no longer sees her friends from elementary school, but the summer swim team is when she gets to reconnect with them all, and she really loves that. So I would also vote for restore the pool, please. And that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Jason Gardner. I'm a Seabrook resident. I am a almost 30-year government employee, not City of Seabrook, so I fully understand budgets and how we have to look at what generates revenue, and things like parks, gardens, and pools don't necessarily generate revenue, but they add a lot to the community. So I just ask that we don't just look at the bottom line of, is this bringing money into the city? Because we all pay taxes, we know roads, public safety, things like that. Water has to come first, but let's don't forget about the amenities for the community. And that's all I got.
Great. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Michael Perkins, 1832 Harbor Crest. So we lived here for about 4 years. We moved to this community because it was, we felt a community that could really help our young family grow. We felt, living right next to the park, right next to the school, the pool, everything was part of that, and we also came here to contribute. And so I'm here to say that, if there's anything that we can do, tax dollars wise, we want that pool. We want our kids and the kids from other community members to continue to enjoy that. So I'm in support of the pool.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. 1.1, Mayor, City Council, and members of city staff may make announcements about city community events. Rob?
There's a lot of city community events coming up. The first is Bayside Area Little League Opening Day Parade. That's Saturday, March 2nd at 7 a.m. Be there, I know I will. Wednesday on March 13th from 9 to 11 at our library, Crafts with a Cop. If I remember correctly, it has to do with badges and paint and decorating, and it ought to be a lot of fun. Seabrook Lucky Trails, Run, 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 Friday, March 15th to Sunday the 17th. Trash Bash the weekend after that on March 23rd on Saturday. And of course, offices are closed for Good Friday on March 29th. The Easter Excursion at Mater Park, which is always a good time, Saturday, March 30th from 9 to 11 a.m. And the Splash Pads at Monroe Fields open on Monday, April 1st. The last thing, and if you haven't seen this, you got to go. DF95 Regional Championships, Friday, April 19th to Sunday the 21st on Main Street in Old Seabrook. DF95 are remote controlled sailboats. No screws on them, no propellers. It's just the wind, a rudder, and the skills of the guy running them. It is so cool to watch how much speed they get out of a remote control sailboat. And that, unless there's something else.
Anybody else? Thanks, Rob. 2.0, specific public hearing. 2.1, conduct a public hearing on a request to take all appropriate action on a request for approval of a preliminary planned unit development, PUD, to create 5815 Old Highway 146 Monroe Quiet Warehouse project comprising of two 23,980 square feet tilt wall constructed warehouses located on 3.695 acre tract of land. Sean?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just to summarize, I'd like to briefly just summarize what a preliminary plan unit development is and the purpose. The purpose of a preliminary plan unit development, PUD, is to provide a flexible approach for development, allows a more flexible response to the market, encourage innovative mixed uses and site plan design. The property that you just described currently is in the C2 medium commercial zoning district, so the use is not allowed by right. It would require either a zoning change or approval of this type of process to allow this type of use. This map here shows the property in question. As you can see, it's located just north of a current plan unit development. It's a recreational trailer park. To the north of that is that property still currently in C2. And then just north of that, that property is located in the C3 zoning district, and that property is owned by the port. So at some point in time, there probably will be some sort of port activity on that property adjacent to the requested property. And then the property in the hash is actually part of the IDA, which is, again, outside the city. It's been disannexed, and it's actually port property. And then to the north of that, and outside this slide, all the property in the light gray from there all the way to the city limit line, which is about 3 or 4 different properties. It's all zoned LI, light industrial. This slide here, again, kind of reflects the property. It's more where you can see actually what's developed around it currently. And so as part of the process, when as you guys are aware, there's a recommendation from planning and zoning to approve this request for preliminary planning and development. As part of their review process, they, as always, acknowledge the comprehensive master plan. Recently, in 2022, the comprehensive master plan was updated, and this area where this property is currently located was designated as an office warehouse district. And this slide is an exhibit right out of the comprehensive master plan. The little blue rectangle that you see right here, that's actually the location of the property within that area. This is the definition of that office warehouse district right out of the comp plan. I'm not going to read it to you, but I'm going to summarize it. And basically what it states is due to the proximity to the port and to State Highway 146, that as we went through our review process, this area was designated as an office warehouse district. Currently, the Planning and Zoning Commission has not taken on the task of creating zoning ordinances to correlate back to the comprehensive master plan, but the comprehensive master plan does support this use. And then just additional information, the intent within the comprehensive master plan for this area is to create an area to facilitate and promote office and warehouse development, establish a branded office warehouse district with unique design requirements, office and warehouses uses compatible with port-related facilities, establish special requirements to screen noise, light, visual office, warehouse, and industrial support uses from the residential uses, and provide adequate transportation facilities and utilities. As I stated at their December 21st, 2023 regular meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of this item and recommended council to approve it. A motion was made for approval by Ed Klein, and it was seconded by Guy Rogers, and the motion carried unanimously. Tonight, we do have the applicant here, and he is prepared either under this item or under the new business item to present his whole concept plan to this body for review and consideration. And that concludes my report, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Any questions, or do we want to discuss this in new business? Under new business, okay. You can do it now or later.
I just want to clarify, Sean. The property immediately north of this is zoned the same as this one. We get into C3, which is zoned for warehouses, or I'm sorry,
You're right.
right. C3 zone for warehouses, and then the hashed area is the IDA owned by the port.
Yeah, so to go back, so this area that's highlighted in yellow is the property in question. The property directly north of that is still C2. And then the property to the further north is the port property that's zone C3. Warehousing is not allowed in a C3 zoning district either. You have to have LI zoning to have warehousing by right. So again, the property that's all the way to the north, it would be the property that this use would be allowed by right, which is pretty much the property. There's two properties to the south from the new Transwestern warehouse, that the XTL property, and there's another small little piece of property, I believe, right there that's zoned for by right.
So the C3 is owned by the port.
That's correct.
And the area above that is an IDA. My concern is what the port intends to do with that property, which obviously we have no control over. I'm looking at this as a potential barrier as far north as we can go in Seabrook against what the port does with that property north of it. And I want to make sure I understand the allocations of the property north of it and what influence we have over what they do there.
Okay.
Is there anybody, this is an open public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak for or against or has an opinion on this project? Come on up.
Deborah Harper, 506 Baywood Drive. I live at the north end of Seabrook, and I've been here long enough to remember how much we fought to keep truck traffic and containers out of the city. There are only 3 entrances to the east side of 146 now. That is the first entrance into our city. If you do this as a PUD, I would prefer keeping it as a commercial district, not as a warehouse. But if it ends up going in that direction, is there some way we can keep the truck traffic from going in and out of Redbud? And maybe ask the developers to put things to the back of, and direct it through, I don't know all the schematics of the map, but to keep them from having cars and trucks competing for that first entrance into our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Is there anybody else that wants to speak for or against this project?
Well, they're gonna have, this is the applicant, you're gonna have to present during.
Yeah, you'll present during the open meeting. Okay, if there's nobody else, we'll close the public hearing. 2.2, conduct a public hearing on a request to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Seabrook, Appendix A, Comprehensive Zoning, Article 4, Special Use Regulation by creating a new section 4.27 entitled Portable On-Demand Storage Container to establish associated regulations. Sean?
So, due to the increase of the use of pods within our community, there was a request that we go through and create some regulations to prevent extended use of these type of containers. And so, based on that request, I took this to Planning and Zoning, and Planning and Zoning reviewed it, and they came up with this recommended text. I did provide this to you guys within your packet, so I'm more than willing to go through this section by section and prepared. It's not a long ordinance, but if you guys are familiar with it and you just want to kind of move forward, then either way you guys want to do this, I'm kind of passing it on to you.
Well, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody that wants to speak against pods or their use? That's essentially what we're looking at, right? Go ahead.
Okay, I read the recommended text and everything, and knowing what we went through with Ike, and I personally went through with Ike, and I had a pod in my driveway for over 14 days. And I didn't read anything in there that would provide relief, an automatic relief or a blanket relief or anything like that. The other thing too I didn't read is if somebody's doing a major remodeling job, they've had a fire or whatever, and there was a house up the street from me that had a fire, and they had a pod out there for well over 14 days. So what allowance do you have for that?
So that section, there is a section that addresses building permits and construction. It's under 4.2706, and it talks about other uses. And it does grant the building official the authority to allow a portable on-demand storage container during the period of construction. And then once construction has concluded, it gives them, they have 10 days to remove it.
Okay, so anybody that puts a pod in their driveway has got to have a permit?
Well, there's no permit requirements. Currently, we don't issue permits for pods. There's a regulation in place that now regulates the size, the maximum size, the amount of time, 14 days it can be there, the condition of the pod. And what kind of facilitated this, at one point in time, we had an individual who had a pod in their driveway for months. And why it's problematic, and a lot of communities have created this type of ordinance, is you have a situation where sometimes these pods aren't much more expensive than having your own personal storage unit at a facility. And it's easy now to put this in your driveway and start using it as permanent storage and just paying the monthly fee. And again, aesthetically, I don't think that's something that it's pleasing. And typically, a lot of cities, a lot of our community subdivisions that have HOAs, they may have regulations that support this, but in other neighborhoods where we don't have HOAs, there aren't any support mechanisms to make sure that these things do not become nuisances.
Okay, I really don't have a problem with it, other than the fact of just the actual management of it, to make sure that it doesn't become an onerous thing for somebody that's got a legitimate reason to have a pod in their driveway, for whatever reason, and that we administer it fairly on that. That's my only comment.
Okay. And basically how we're planning on enforcing this is code enforcement does travel around. We don't have the resources to monitor and permit this every time a pod comes into our community. We just don't. So it's really an ordinance that's created to prevent our situations when we have nuisances. So typically, code enforcement will go around when they identify one of these, they'll mark it. And then typically, if they become a nuisance, the HOA is going to call us, the neighbors are going to call us, and at that point in time, we'll start enforcement for sure. And we'll calculate those days. And somebody may get a few more days than the required allowance of 14 days, but as soon as we identify that, we'll start calculating those days and we'll be able to get them removed. Currently, we don't have any standards or any ordinances in place that I can even require somebody to remove one of these from their property.
Okay, I have a little bit of a problem if during a disaster, during a Harvey or an Ike, we can waive this, right?
Well,
Is there a means to waive it?
yeah, well, and typically there's going to be some building permits that are issued, and during that period of time, they'll be allowed to have them. And much like after Ike, we have another ordinance on the books that prohibits anybody from using a travel trailer as a dwelling. And there was some allowances and some resolutions and ordinances created to suspend that requirement during those times of hazard or destruction, and we were able to accommodate that.
But was that written into the ordinance?
It's currently not. I mean, you guys have that power at any time. These ordinances are fluid, and even once we start enforcing this, if this does get approved and we start enforcing it, if we find problems that we didn't find or that we didn't address at the drafting, we can always bring those modifications back to you and correct those things.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Joe.
Well, I'm like Buddy talked about and what you just brought up, Tom. I think if we're reasonable with it, then I can live with it. But, we live around a hurricane area, so, that's happened before. And then there's many people I know right here, even on this dais, who do a complete, home remodel. And, if you needed the reason they want it right there is it's easy to get to. You have a storage somewhere else, it's super inconvenient to have to drive. And yeah, is it an eyesore for some neighbors for maybe 25 or 30 days while you're getting some stuff done? Yeah, but most people can live with that, and especially if we have a hurricane, because everybody's going to want them then, because it's just the way it's going to be. So anyway.
Sure. Well, and we carried over that exception to this ordinance because we have that allowance. So that's one of the few things that you can use a true shipping container for within our community. And there's two different definitions. There's a definition for a pod or a portable storage unit, and then there's a whole different definition in our code for a shipping container. And so this falls outside that criteria. But that's why we did incorporate this, because there is an allowance in one of our other sections of the code that allows people during construction to have a shipping container.
At one point, there was an ordinance against shipping containers in this city.
That's correct.
Is that still in our?
Yes, it's in Article 2, and it's under prohibited uses, and shipping containers are not, there's one allowance for a shipping container within our community that's tied to another section that during construction, the building official can allow a shipping container during construction. That's what happens on our commercial projects and things like that. But once the certificate of occupancy is issued, they have 10 days to remove that. And again, we carry that requirement over to 4.2076 of this ordinance as well.
Okay. All right, anybody else? It's, again, this is a public meeting. Is there anybody who wants to speak for or against this? Come up.
What can I say? I would just suggest they gotta come to the microphone.
State your name and address.
Jason Gardner, 2413 Acadiana Lane. I just suggest to add in there specific wording of during a mayor declared natural disaster, this is waived. I work for another city government and we have very similar.
Thank you.
So that's my suggestion.
So who are we trying to copy? What city?
Kept that secret.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close that public meeting. Rob? Okay. 2.3, conduct a public hearing on a request to amend the Seabrook City Code of ordinance by revising Chapter 18, Building and Building Regulations, more specifically Section 18-121, Building Code Adoption, Section 18-122, same amendments, Section 10, Windstorm Standard, and Section 18-123, One-Family and Two-Family Dwelling Code adopted. Section 18-24, same amendments. Section 6, wind speed, by modifying the wind design standard from 155 miles an hour to 150 miles an hour. Sean?
So the correction of this item, what this is a correction. So we recently updated all our building codes, and within the building code and the residential building code, there was a typo where we created the ultimate wind speed at 155 miles per hour, and it should be, the standard is 150 for our area. So we're just requesting that these two sections of the code within Chapter 18 be modified to change the 155 to 150 in the building code, and then change on this table for the residential code from the 155 to 150. And again, the Planning and Zoning Commission has had to go through them for a recommendation, and they did recommend approval of this item.
So this meets TWIA? This meets the TWIA standards?
Yes.
Anybody, again, this is a public hearing. Does anybody want to speak on this? Anybody on council wants to talk about this?
Why did we have to have a public hearing if it's just a correction?
Pardon?
Why do we have to have a public hearing if it's just a correction?
This
Ordinance.
is actually located within our, how our charter is written and addresses our building code. It requires a specific public hearing for the builders and all those people, all those people in that profession to be, have an opportunity to speak for or against something. So it's part of our charter.
Okay, we're going to close that public hearing then. 2.4, oh my God. Conduct a public hearing on a request to an amendment to the Seabrook City Code Appendix A Comprehensive Zoning, Article 3, Establishment of Zoning Districts and Associated Regulations, Section 3.02, R to LD Low Density Single Family Residential District, Section 3.03, R1 Single Family Detached Residential District, Section 3.04, R2, Single-Family Detached Residential District, Small Lots. Section 3.05, R3, Medium Density Residential District. And Section 3.12, Old Seabrook District. By creating a new section titled Outside Storage, establishing regulations concerning the outside placement of an item within the front yard of a residential use for a period of more than 72 hours during a 12-month period. Sean.
So this was a staff facilitated item. So you guys, during the strategic planning process, one of our goals was to increase code enforcement throughout the community and address some of the blight and some of the junk, trash, and debris and issues that we're having throughout the community. A lot of our west side of our community has HOAs, and you guys have controlling regulations within your deed restrictions that prohibit motors of a car, all these different things from being in your front yard. Well, on the east side, a lot of our subdivisions don't have those same controls in place. So code enforcement is struggling with when we go through certain subdivisions on the east side, and they have those items and they don't technically meet the definition of trash, junk, and debris. Somebody could argue that they have some sort of value and they should be able to store them in their front yard. And so what code enforcement requested that we create some ordinances that would give us some authority to regulate those things not being placed in the front yard. You have to put it either in the side or in the back, so it's not in public view and it's not located directly in the front yard. There's an allowance for those things within this ordinance for somebody to have those things for 72 hours. So one of the items within this document is a barbecue grills, things like that. If you're actually barbecuing in your driveway and you got 72 hours to put it out there, put it and put it away, it's just not going to be sitting in your front yard. Again, it kind of follows the guidance that many of our neighborhoods and subdivisions are already regulated to, and it gives us authorities to clean up and regulate some of those areas where some of this is occurring. Again, I'm more than willing to go through this ordinance section by section. It's kind of a lengthy ordinance. I know I provided to you guys in advance, and if you guys are prepared to discuss and have questions without me doing that, going through that process, I'm happy to acquiesce to that.
Council, any questions?
Okay, two questions. What about garbage cans? Do they have to be behind the house or behind the house, the line?
During regular times, they have to be in the side or in the back. They can't be in the front. But then there's an exception. So this is much like the other ordinance. We wrote very specific requirements of what you couldn't do. And then at the end of this ordinance, there's the following items are exempt. And so, antique things that don't meet the definition of junk. I didn't want to get into the argument that this is in conflict with our junk vehicle ordinance and things like that. So there's direct references to that. There's statements in here that during trash days, you can bring, I followed our guidance that's in our current ordinance, when you can put your trash cans out, when you got to bring them in. And so we already have those things in place in other areas, but I wanted to bring it all in one place. If people were looking what they could and couldn't do, we incorporated those existing requirements and actually placed them in this ordinance also.
Okay, is it currently being enforced about the trash cans either have to be beside the house,
That's not currently being enforced.
but it's going to be, is that correct?
It's going to be in the future, yes.
Okay, well, that
If
needs
this is approved, it would be enforced in the future.
Okay, then the second question is, like, in our neighborhood, the major trash pickup for items, whatever, is Tuesday. So if I don't get it out till Wednesday, it won't be till the following Tuesday before it's picked up. So I put a bunch of tires and just cleaning out my garage. I'm in violation.
Well, you're in violation now if you do that. So in our current ordinance, how our stuff's written, when you can put trash out, you put that out that far in advance, you're in violation of our current ordinance. It has nothing to do with this ordinance.
Well, it's no different than if you cut down a tree. So I've got to keep the tree in my backyard all cut up until, Monday night? And then I can put it out?
It's 24 hours before, and that's what's written in our current ordinance. It's 24 hours.
This really needs to be communicated very well before, if it is adopted, because there's just a whole lot of people, they have to work for a living and they get it out when they can get it out, and, it may sit on the curb for a couple of days.
Our typical process, our typical process with code enforcement, and I think this is important to communicate to everybody, is typically we understand that our citizens are our customers and we work with them on a normal basis. So when we go out and we find somebody who's violating something like this, usually there's a 30-day letter, there's a 10-day letter. We go through a process on every code enforcement case. We follow a certain process. If it's a health, safety, welfare issue, they're blocking traffic or causing a nuisance, we may be more aggressive. But typically if somebody's putting something out and it's a single case where they've done it, we're going to knock on the door, code enforcement is, say, hey, this is a problem, don't do it again. And we're not going to ask them to move all that stuff into their backyard for 3 days. We're going to work with them. So, again, we'll follow that process that we continue to follow. We do have the authority within these ordinances, if it's a life, safety, health, welfare, we can start issuing citations and be more aggressive. But even that process takes time to go through court. So I think there's some flexibility in here when we get into enforcement, that it's not going to be like someone's showing up at your door and telling you to move all this stuff somewhere else.
Jackie?
Okay, I'm pretty good with all this ordinance overall. I do have a couple things I want to bring up. I have some issues with the play equipment in the front yards. Anything that's I have a swing in my front yard that hangs from my tree. But any play equipment that's encouraging kids to have a safe place to go and play in their front yard, I think we shouldn't discourage that. Maybe we could put, no permanent play equipment, so you're not having swing sets or trampolines, or you have trampolines in here or pools, but I would like to see some flexibility in the play equipment specifically. And also, there was some talk on social media about people were worried about their holiday decorations being part of this. I don't see anywhere in here but maybe we should clarify, or put, you could put holiday decorations out a month prior and 2 weeks after it should be put up. There is, if we're going to be putting, if we're going to put stipulations on what can and can't be in your yard, maybe we should bring that up.
Currently, there's nothing in this ordinance that gives us authority to deal with Christmas decorations, holiday decorations. Actually, it was a recommendation of one of the planning and zoning commissioners to add that. And as we had our conversation and debate about it, again, that wasn't the intent of this ordinance. It's more about trash, junk, and debris type items, something that could be declared a blight, but doesn't meet that total definition. And when we take it to court, we can't get something removed. So again, we can, under the items, the following items are exempt from the outside, we can make some modifications. I mean, I can add swings, I can come up with a definition or a description of a normal like patio swing in somebody's front yard, if that's the will of council. And we can create that item underneath and bring that back as a change during second reading.
Okay, thank you. Mine's actually hanging from a tree. There's several in my neighborhood that are like that. They're nice. I mean, but I see them in, really expensive houses in Houston too. I mean, it's just something that I don't want to restrict.
And it would be easy to modify. Tree swings, just so I'm clear, tree swings and like patio type swings I can create. Where we got the following items are exempt, I can create another section and we can address those. Or even I can maybe just address an exception underneath where we're prohibiting swing sets, all those things, and then create an exception item right underneath that. And these things there's exceptions to this rule.
One thing I think people ought to start thinking about, that trash, junk, and debris, but in Austin right now, a lot of the neighborhoods are going to not mowing their lawn, just letting it grow natural. That's a big thing. It was actually on the news, and they showed how the people just put like natural plants and let it grow up. I mean, they're doing it and they say it's natural and they like it and it helps with all different things. But anyway, that's going to be coming our way soon, I guarantee it.
To address that, currently we do have an ordinance in place, a high grass and weed ordinance, and anything over 9 inches in height is a current violation. So if we were going to allow something like that, we'd have to make some modifications to other ordinance sections.
Anyone else? My only issue with it is that, and I agree that there are certain things that need to be cleaned up and should be cleaned up. But when you bring up HOAs, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want an HOA, and we're forcing HOA rules on somebody that doesn't want an HOA. So, it becomes somewhat of an issue for me to try and regulate unregulated neighborhoods. They're there for a reason. People move there for a reason. And do we really want to impose HOA rules on a group of people that probably don't want them?
Well, and I don't think we're addressing, I'm just using a reference back to HOA. I don't think that was the goal of writing this ordinance. We do have nuisance issues, and we have properties that currently have old barbecue pits, old motors, people are doing work in their driveway on hobby cars and things like that. And we don't have any prohibitions because it doesn't fall under trash, junk, and debris, but this gives us an opportunity in those areas to address it.
And I know there's people that have complained about their neighbors doing it, but again, it's I think it needs to be a little more defined, and maybe we can get into that later. But I do see some semblance of grace need to be applied here. When we're defining what is trash and what is junk and what is, allowed and what isn't allowed, and like Jackie said, playground equipment, that's stretching it. Anyway, we'll get into it during discussion. Is there anybody else out there that wants to speak for or against this? Come forward, please.
Hello, Stephanie Hadley, 1853 Aspen Lane. I live on Aspen Lane in Miramar neighborhood. There is a house that I absolutely hate. It is terrible. There's a forklift. There's 2 boats. There's 2 cars that don't move. Never have ever seen them move. This guy gets away with it by having them halfway parked on his property and halfway not. I think it's not fair for everyone else to have to look at this eyesore of, I mean, like, it looks like he's collecting rats in this front yard because it's just terrible. And we have kids. It's hard to even back out of the driveway because his vehicles are always in the way. So, I mean, I would be totally for this if it helps get rid of this kind of stuff. I know we don't have an HOA in that neighborhood, but maybe some people don't want an HOA because they don't want to pay. You know, it can be somewhere more costly. I don't know, but I don't feel like this is HOA feel to me. I feel like this is just kind of good neighborly practice.
Okay.
And it should be enforced. I wish that there was more being enforced in that neighborhood. I would like it to look better. I know it's an older neighborhood, but it could look better. And if this helps, then I think we should really do it.
Great. Thank you. There was another one, yeah.
Hey, Helen Hanks, 1820 Elmore Lane. So I'm one of those people who moved to my house because it wasn't in an HOA, but I was mostly thinking I don't want to be told what colour my front door has to be or what plants I'm allowed in my yard. I don't really have a problem with the trash. I just have a couple of questions. One is, where would Kroger shopping carts fall under this ordinance? I think everyone's seen the cart I'm talking about. Because they're not trash, but they shouldn't be in someone's front yard either.
We can't discuss it. You
Okay.
can speak.
And the other question's a little more serious. So it's not uncommon for us to get storms where big branches will fall out of somebody's tree. Like, I don't own a chainsaw, so that big branch will get cut up when it gets cut up, and it'll get put on the curb when it gets put on the curb. I might not be also working full-time and everything, so I'm a bit worried that when there's storm damage or flood damage, people are going to have lots of trash. It's not reasonable for them to put it in the back and then wait for trash day and move it to the front.
I'm pretty sure there's exceptions for during a disaster for trash pickup and debris cleanup. We actually hire out for that. And so, yeah, that may sit on the curb for a while. We're at the mercy of the debris people. But we do have contracts out during hurricanes. Anyone else? Okay, we're done with public hearings, right? Right. 3.0, boards and commissions. 3.1, consider and take all appropriate action on a reappointment of 3 members to the Ethics Review Commission for terms to expire January 1st, 2025. Whose is this? Do we have applicants?
It's there.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have 3 applicants for 3 positions. We have Nathan Lena, Lillian Gonzalez, and Marcy Friday. Does anybody have an opinion? Go ahead.
I just want to make a comment that I asked who was interviewed and who applied for this committee. And I was told that they didn't have a chance to interview them last, I guess, summer, which I feel like we did that last summer. But either way, I'm being told that it's kind of a mess, that the board's in term compliance. And I just want to make a note that I really wish we would have been able to have a chance like it was set up to interview. And I know that there's residents that are not listed here that have applied, and it's unfortunate that they didn't get the opportunity. So that's all I've got to say.
Okay. Do we have any applicants on record for these positions? Who's?
No, so do you want to speak? We were these were expired terms, so we were just trying to bring them back up into compliance with having any board members that were not expired.
Well, the problem with the Ethics Commission, of course, is we certainly don't want them to be on our back, but since they are ethics, but they really don't meet until there's an issue.
Right.
So these people probably don't even know each other.
In the regular process, the resolution that the interview boards were set up for, we're still going to do a blanket recruitment for all of them. It's just last year, a step was missed to update these folks. And so we actually had expired, we didn't have an ethics commission. So if these are not approved, we don't have an ethics commission.
So if we haven't had an ethics commission in a while, is there a hurry to put these three on again?
They were contacted, all have agreed that they're interested right now, and they've been told that in August, per the resolution, there'll be another call for applications.
Okay.
So they're aware.
Okay, good. So we really don't have to vote on this tonight?
You do to update their terms.
These are expired.
Well, I know they're expired, but they've been expired. So if there's other people that have applied, can we take a look at them?
I don't think there's any that's in the chute for ethics, correct? Okay.
I
No,
thought
there's-
Jackie said that she knows of some. I mean, if there's nobody else applied, then I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
But if somebody else has got their
But the-
application in. Okay. All right, then yes, we can,
Okay, I move to approve Nathan Lena, Lillian Gonzalez, and Marcy Friday for reappointment to the Ethics Commission.
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. 4.0 presentations. Presentation of a quarterly report by Open Space and Trails Committee. Monica?
I've got it if you want me to drive.
Yes.
Okay.
I brought it up for you, that's what I was doing. I'm taking mine down.
Well, hello. I can't see everybody. Where's my step stool? I thought you were gonna get me one.
Borrow mics.
That's okay, but you know I'm here. I see y'all. And thanks for a lot of my committee members from OST being here. So this is not,
That's yours?
yeah. I'm like, that's not my picture.
Did someone download it for you?
It's on.
Gary, you have her for that?
No, I have my flash. I can get my flash. There, okay. Sorry, I had it in Canva. All right. So this is an update. Technically, I think it's supposed to be quarterly. There we go. Thank you. Technically, I think it's supposed to be quarterly, but it's been exactly about a year since the last time I came to talk to council. So I just wanted to kind of update y'all on what's happened with us the last year. So here's our agenda. I'm going to go through it pretty quick. This looks like a big meeting, and there's a lot more to go. So if we can go to the next one. So that's me. That's my little family. We've lived in Seabrook for the last, since 2012. So what is that, like 12 years? I have a 21-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And my daughter attends Bay Elementary. All right. And so some of the tree planting that we've done this year, in November of 23, we planted some trees thanks to the Rotary Club donation, and Deborah kind of spearheaded that. Baybrook is her park, and a few of us went out there and helped plant and had a good time. And we're just trying to add trees where there was previously some construction work. And try to beautify that park a little more. Next one. So John helped out with the Houston Wilderness tree planting. This was recently in December. They staked out where they're gonna plant some trees. He went to kind of provide some guidance and helped them out with that bit on I think it was a Friday in December. And then also the port provided some benches previously on that berm trail up the new one over by the port. If you go along that way, you might have seen previously it was like some kind of, not homemade benches, but like, what are those, cinder blocks and like just kind of wood. And so they actually replaced those with some nice new concreted benches, and so we're very appreciative of that. Our partnership with the port and them kind of, doing some things over there that help beautify that area. We had January of 2024, so just recently, our tree planting day of awesomeness that's spearheaded by John, and we had plenty of trees to plant, lots of volunteers. I didn't happen to be there that day, but it was a pretty good turnout and a great event. And we always invite volunteers to come out and plant trees in January. Usually it's that first Saturday after the new year. And so all are welcome for that. Families too, we get a lot of kids out there. And in last spring of 23, so about April, we had some Girl Scouts out in the Hester Park, so our butterfly garden. They helped clean that up, and Nemo was out there with them, and they've done a good job of keeping that area nice and clean, and hopefully we can get some butterflies out there at Hester. So then at Friendship, thank you to Brian for working on that one with that group. It's been a while, for Public Works guys. They replaced the playground equipment over there, and it was in pretty bad shape beforehand, and now you can see it's a nice big new playscape with great shading, and there's also, you can barely see on the after picture, there's a little trail, which is awesome for the moms with strollers. You can just stroll right up or have your kids ride their bikes right up to the playscape, as instead of before it was just kind of grassy. And then you can see on that new connector trail, so on the back side of Friendship Park, where the new neighborhood is being built, the guys, they put a little trail connector right there to that sidewalk, and so that's pretty cool too. Then at Baybrook Park, it's been kind of underwater the last few months, but it's been kind of the rainy season. We have the little butterfly garden there that Abby, she's not a Girl Scout, I forget what group she's with, but she's with a group that's similar to Girl Scouts. And so she created that butterfly garden as part of her, her main project. And they are also working on building some benches to put out there. And so I also included a little picture back from November when it was nice and pretty, and before the rains took it out, we did actually have some butterflies out there. This provided by Sally. This was in her neighborhood, Surf Oaks. So in February of 2023, so I know it was almost exactly a year ago, but the Houston SPCA Wildlife Center of Texas, they released some pelicans out there. When we get freezes and weather events, sometimes they have these pelicans and animals that need to be housed. And this was an opportunity for them to, after they've rehabilitated them, to release them back into the wild. And we are grateful for those kinds of partnerships where these groups see that Seabrook has the space and the ability to provide that scape for the animals to get let back into the wild. Then some related awards that related to our committee and some of the things that we've done. So we received the Seabrook received the Keep Texas Beautiful Gold Star Award for 2023. We got second place recognition in the Governor's Community Achievement Award Program for 2023, and the Scenic City Certification of Texas gave us a bronze award. And a lot of times we work on grants with Public Works. And recently we just submitted the GCCA application. So we're constantly looking for ways to receive grants to improve our parks and the community. Of course, we cannot do what we do without assistance from Public Works staff, and we always try to appreciate them, not only yearly, but just on a regular basis. And we appreciate, in recent years, we've had Public Works members attend our meetings, our monthly meetings. Kevin's and Brian and Sean have all been there. over the last few years, and we really appreciate that. And we try to do a yearly luncheon for the guys from Public Works staff. We provide some sides, and we try to get the mains kind of provided. And we have a good time. It's a good time for us to just let those guys know we see what they're doing, we appreciate it, and we appreciate every time we contact them. I mean, I feel like I send an email and immediately it's like, oh, we see it, we've done it, we've taken care of it. So that's really nice. In progress. So one of the things that Kevin had brought to us recently, and you may have noticed this as you're out on the trails, is just with different weather events, trees don't survive. And so some of our group are working on identifying those trees and, of course, making sure to, that they don't become a trouble hazard for anybody. And so you'll see some of these things, these trunks like cut up and pieces of the trees down, or you might see where they're down. And it's important to know that we, as a group OST, we recommend not taking them out, but leaving them there, because it promotes more growth, and it promotes the tree canopy, and it promotes just all the things that live there and, off the trails, a habitat. So that's why you see that it's not, it's not that it's a hazard to anybody now that it's down. And so that's been our recommendation, is to keep the branches and things down where they are. And then for the future, we kind of are involved, or we had been, with the wastewater on Main, the treatment facility. We did some tours, some of us, with Kevin on that to see, what could be done with that as a future park. And then we've also, as council knows, working on Carruthers. And then for the future, one of the things that we're looking at is also some solar lights maybe, and we've talked with Kevin about those possibilities. So we're always trying to think of things, new things and ways to improve, and how we can, as open space and trails, how we can work together with the city and with the city staff to improve. And that's all I have. So thank you guys.
4.2, Public Safety Annual Report for 2023. Chief.
Mayor, Council, good evening. So I wanted to go over your 2023 Police and Animal Control Public Safety Report. I know you've all been given a copy, so I'm going to kind of move through it quickly in the interest of time. If you have any questions, though, or if you jotted any down from reviewing what I presented earlier, please just speak up and I'll stop. So the report is a look at 2023, but it also compares 2023 to several previous years throughout the report, sometimes 5 years, sometimes just 1 or 2, depending on what statistics I'm trying to capture. There's also an excerpt at the end about 2024 goals, so that you can see where we've not only been, but where we're going as well. Telecommunications Center has a very high volume. It continues to rise, as you can imagine. They do work for not only the police, but fire, EMS, and animal control as well. Our crashes, that's a sore spot for everyone, no pun intended. They were actually down this past year over 2022, and they're pretty consistent. Like 2023 was pretty consistent with 2020 and 2021. So maybe 22 was a spike. But we're going to continue to watch that, especially as 146 opens up, and see how that flyover impacts traffic crashes and our violations, because we know that it plays a part in our crashes. Traffic enforcement, as I mentioned, we know it plays a part, so we've stepped up our enforcement activity, but it's not just a broad brush rise in enforcement activity. We want to target safety issues, running red lights, running stop signs, aggressive drivers, unsafe lane changes, things like that that lead to crashes, property damage and injury. Over the last 3 months, we've done very well. Our traffic crashes have borne that out. We've seen a decrease. We still have a lot of little minors, but we've all but eliminated those big major crashes, so that's a good thing. Animal control calls, they're pretty consistent. Last year was a little bit of a dip, but 22 was a bit of a dip. 23 is pretty consistent with 21 and 20. Homeless and illegal camping. I know this is a problem throughout the nation, and I wanted to target this from a compassionate standpoint, but also from a standpoint of it's not accepted, it's against the law, it's dangerous for those who engage in it. So we want to help those that we can help and direct them to a resource to help get them out of that situation they're in. And for those that don't want our help, we take enforcement action on those. For our criminal investigations division, they've been very good at their work. They've shown a positive trend over the last 5 years in clearing cases. And that's not, if a case isn't cleared, if it's open, it doesn't get counted as cleared. As you can see, overall, last year was 77%. That's very high. National average is very low in everything. Persons crimes is usually hovering around 70% for the most extreme cases at the high end. This is all of our cases. So, and those, the property crimes and things like that usually drag it down. But as you can see, overall, we're 77%, which is incredible. And this is our evidence and property room that we're working on diligently. We're in the process of a purge now to clean this up, but it's when you've got a small space. I mean, we were talking about storage containers earlier. If you would like to put a pod out in front of the PD, you could do that. No,
Talk to Sean.
not even 10 days. We're working through it. We identified pretty quickly that we're going to be able to probably call out about a third just on things that have either the statute of limitations has run on the case has been disposed of, what have you. So we anticipate this will get cleared up before the end of the year, but it's a very slow, arduous process.
Question on that, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Where is that property room?
In the PD building.
It's downstairs?
Yes, sir.
In the flood zone?
Yes, sir. We'll be moving a lot if we get a tidal surge.
Okay, welcome to Seabrook.
Yes, sir. Our community engagement unit does a fabulous job. Everyone knows Officer Gilmore, formerly Officer Boniface. She does an incredible job, as do all the officers engaged in the community engagement effort. One of the things I want to improve this year is I want to expand it even more. They do such a great job. I say the things we do well, we need to do a lot more of. So we're going to focus on that. And these are our success, or the things that we want to be successes for 2024. Just a couple of them. I want to reduce crashes by a minimum of 10%. As I mentioned, the community engagement by at least 100% on the number of events that we hold, not just that we attend. I want to fill all of our vacancies. Our 911 center does incredible work. They're consistently over 98% in answering the calls in under 15 seconds. The gold standard is 99, so we're almost there. We're going to get there this year and maintain that. There's a lot of things on there. We're going to accept some grant funds. They've already all been applied for. You've all approved that for this year so that we don't have to spend city money on body armor and things. But if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Any questions? Yes, Tom?
The commercial inspection division,
Yes, sir.
it's not separated out in your report. Can you give us a little idea about that? I usually would see more of those vehicles under 146 at the Red Bluff 146.
Yes, sir.
I don't see it as often as I did before. It would be great to plant somebody there on a daily basis. Maybe the port would decide to move their traffic down further. But anyway, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, we've had one position that's been open for the entire year. All of 23 was vacant. So out of the two positions, one was empty. The other one, he's I mean, he's got a schedule and time and other things that he's got to do besides enforcement work. And then with the construction, he was limited on the areas he could pull vehicles over because he needs a large area, and that large area he's got to use for about an hour to do an inspection. So it's, again, hopefully with the opening of 146, we'll be able to get some things back on track, that being one of them. Did that answer your question?
It did. I just would like to see us bring more attention to that area.
sir.
We're still seeing a lot of 18-wheelers throughout Seabrook.
Yes, sir, we are.
We had one yesterday, for example, who took the turn at Red Bluff and Toddville, took his tractor right over the ditch and just took all the berms out. But the fact is that they shouldn't even be there to begin with. They cannot navigate Red Bluff.
Yes, sir.
There's no way, it's impossible.
Yes, sir.
The other is the traffic going on and on the entrance ramp at 146 going north is a really difficult area. It is dangerous. And the trucks don't look like they're in particularly good condition. It just seems like it'd be a great revenue spot for the city. So thank you, Chief.
Don't say that.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Jackie,
Yes, ma'am.
Jackie.
Thank you for all you do. I just had a question about the school. You said you were going to implement school safety or
I've been working with CCISD. We've actually had a couple of meetings, one tabletop with CCISD at one of the local schools. The goal is to get a working plan with our people engaging in a full-scale exercise so that we're not only talking about it and doing tabletops, we're actually practicing it in the hope that we will never have to deploy. But
Right.
I would much rather have those deployments under our belt so that we're not doing it for the first time under stress. There will be enough go wrong anyway.
yeah, I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. 4.3, hear a presentation on an update for the planned unit development to create Seabrook Plaza planned unit development consisting of a boutique hotel, extended stay hotel, conference center and ballroom, approximately 25,000 square feet of retail space, and a luxury multifamily apartment complex of approximately 260 units located in an approximately 11.096 acre tract. Approximately 11?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'd said I'd come by and give a brief update here. It's not really much of a presentation, but I will say that the energy around the project continues to grow. And I know some of you saw, it's over a week ago, the front page weekend article in the Houston Business Journal really highlighted the Bay Area and all of the development going on here. And our project in Seabrook was prominently featured in there, right in the center page. They have a big rendering of the project. They even quoted me correctly this time, so that was a big plus. But I think there really is continued interest, which we've been seeing in all of the outreach we've gotten from retailers, namely restaurants, people entertainment focused. I feel like one of the big achievements we had is we managed to sign over 7,000 square foot restaurant lease. It's the first one to have somebody stepping in, and it's a national group, fairly prominent. So to have that kind of interest from an institutional operator at this early stage, I think speaks volumes for the area, for the project. Everything going on with 146 is really, the timing couldn't be better to be bringing this into focus. So while we're very excited about that, we have had to push out our timeline a little bit, really due to the capital market situation for commercial real estate right now. And I know every other developer is dealing with that. We had the global meeting of all of the Margaritaville ownership this last month. And I think everybody that's currently in the planning stages is running into some of those shifting issues. And it's just something that needs to be dealt with. But that will take a little bit of additional time as we kind of negotiate who's in the market, who isn't, and how have the terms changed over what they were a year ago as we were projecting this. But aside from that, I think we're in a strong position, and certainly have a lot of faith and belief from the people at Margaritaville as well as the other retailers. So I think with that, those are my two big updates. Any questions?
Any questions? You go ahead, Tom.
Every week, someone's asking, is it really going to come? It would be extremely helpful to not only the citizens of Seabrook, for people in the surrounding area, if there was some signage that could at least give some idea of when it might come to fruition. If you could please consider some type of signage on the property to let people know it is really going to be coming. It was unfortunate that Galveston got also at Margaritaville. And now everyone thinks that it's moved to Galveston, not coming to Seabrook. I hope that you will see that that's a great dilemma for us, and we really want to support Margaritaville, of course, but we also want to educate our citizens and let them know when the proposed time is.
Absolutely, and I know our sales team at Sotheby's would be screaming amen as to the signage. We've looked at a couple different things. We have to be careful about where it's placed, just due to my agreement with MarineMax right now, but it is something being considered. And I would also say we're working very hard on an overall branding for the project, not just the hotel. Because the idea really being Margaritaville is an important component, but it's only a component of what we're building. We're looking at, up to 4 restaurants. More than likely, we will be looking at going with greater square footage than what we initially thought within the restaurant space, due to the overwhelming interest that we're getting. And so the hope really is that we're going to be branding the entire Seabrook Plaza. I know our marketing folks really want to come up with a more energetic name. That was me having to put something on the file for the city to throw something up there. No pride in the name of Seabrook Plaza, so maybe we should have a naming competition. But I think we really are looking at it being a much bigger mixed-use project, even above and beyond the Margaritaville. But your point's well taken.
And maybe a better logo that wasn't drawn by a three-year-old.
The people at CBRE's marketing department and in my restaurant group, who's very marketing-oriented,
Okay, good.
are energetic about that, definitely.
We appreciate it. John, is there any more questions? No, we know it's moving forward, but it's moving too slow, so.
Understood. It's moving too slow for me and everybody else.
Okay.
So I hear
Appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks for coming down. Where am I here? Okay, the consent agenda. 5.0, consent agenda. 5.1, approve the minutes of the December 16th, 2021, February 7th, 2024, and February 13th, 2024 city council meetings.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Wait a minute. I didn't read 5.2 yet. 5.2, consider and take all appropriate action on approval of Resolution 2024-07, denial of the Centerpoint Statement of Intent filing to change rates. Now you can do something.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor? Passes unanimously. 6.0, new business. Consider and take all, 6.1, consider and take all appropriate action on a request for approval of a preliminary planned unit development to create 5815 Old Highway 146 Monroe Quiet Warehousing Project comprising of two 23,980 square foot tit wall constructed warehouses located on a 3.695 acre tract of land.
I've provided my report. Again, the applicant's here if you guys would like to see their presentation.
Any questions of the applicant?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, bring them up.
Let me be.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Chance Bennett. I am the owner of Ava Ryan & Company. It's a little design firm. And I've worked with Starship Texas LLC for many, I would say decades, but years. And my experience in this industry is over 30 years, designing, drafting, coordinating contractors, working with other builders. Going through this facility, again, it's the Quiet Warehouse, tilt wall warehousing, Starship, Texas City. And we're going to go through the slide here.
Okay.
Concrete tilt wall warehouse facility. It's a dock high port warehouse facility. The address is 5815 Highway 146. And here are some of the projects that Starship Texas City has done in the past with me involved. We did the Morgan's Point warehouse right there, 76,000 square feet along the port. We do a lot of climate control storage facilities, 80,000 square foot is pretty much our minimum building. The building down the street in Pasadena is a big warehouse, sorry. And then we do a multi-story climate controls facilities, very clean facilities, well managed, well run, well operated by Texas City Starship. These are some of the projects that I work on as well. Morgan's Point with the same Starship Texas City. We do RV parks, layouts, resorts, just multitude of commercial designs with the intent of providing drainage, landscaping, architectural features, all the stuff that means and meets all the ordinance of the cities and counties and state features we have to deal with. Here's a legal description of the tract of land. I'm not going to read everything to you, but it is a 3.69 acre tract located on 146. There's the application for the development, PUD, reserved for the platting. Here is, like I said, the site plan that Sean had shown earlier. And this letter is also serving the point that utilities are provided by the City of Seabrook for the request. Here is a general boundary survey of the existing facility. There's an existing house, which will be demoed, of course. Here is the boundary of the southern property, which is the RV resort, which is also owned by the same owner developing this 3.acre tract. Again, the legal description of the property. Here is a site plan, proposed site plan for the PUD. Again, we're coming off 146 here. We're providing a fire lane, concrete, heavy duty for the loads from the warehouse. 2 separate warehouses, 24,000 square feet, to correct the numbers. Each warehouse will have its own office personnel, bathrooms, lounges for the truck drivers to come into. There's parking for all the actual workers there, the front office personnel. They're mirrored buildings, so it should go up pretty quick. There's docks on the first building in the rear, the second building in the front, and then it's the parking for the employees in the back as well. The green you see is the landscaping, trees, setbacks. The detention pond is up front, which is a pumped pond out to TxDOT. It's going to have a water feature to kind of break up the visual of the building. The landscape will help break up the site from the highway. We're going to use a lot of cool colors, real relaxing colors, not real, attractive, even taking the eye off the highway and disrupting the citizens' sight views. The lighting is going to be low lighting, directed down, low luminous, LED type lights. Of course, the building is a tilt wall building. It's going to be about 28 feet high, fully sprinkled. The components of the building is port warehousing. None of it is going to be combustible, no flammables. Most things we'd stock is probably granite, tile, wood flooring. A lot of those vendors like that, which we've done in Bayport on the Bayport project. There's some breakdowns of the quantities of green space, open space through here on the PUD development. And again, like I said, the owner here is the same owner here on the proposed. The quick idea about that is he also is aware of the port coming further south towards Seabrook. He is trying to provide a barrier not only to his property to the south, but also to the City of Seabrook. for the noise, the sights, the sounds that's going to be coming from a larger project to the north. This would act like a barrier to the city, sounds, noises that we can provide to the city as well as the adjacent owner for him. General site plan is kind of blown up. Some of the layers are taken off. Not much to discuss there, the same layout. This talks about the planned unit development. This is the ordinance itself, describing what we can do through the process, what's demanded and required. Continue the next one into the page. Table of contents, the project overview, the ordinance, quiet warehousing, master site or set, Avery Ryan and Company. We got site plan, landscape, lighting, sanitary sewer and water plans, aerial plans, water details, sanitary sewer details, building elevations. The traffic study has been ordered. We're waiting to get that back. And we have a survey as shown. Some of the breakdowns as far as quiet warehousing, local retail sales. Estimated drivers' day is about 50 trucks because we don't have that big of a warehouse, that many doors to unload and load. The numbers are broken out into the yearly 5-year retail sales cost, current estimates of values, future improvements, 5-year property tax projections, economic impacts, like I said, 50 drivers a day mostly. Of course, we can go through what the drivers are going to stop at the stores, tax revenue, employees, tax revenue back and forth to the city. Why plan unit development? This is just the verbiage that we put together for the project. The zoning ordinances, C2 to PUD. It's a lot of repetitive stuff back and forth on this. Another site plan showing C2, vacant land. Another site plan showing some landscaping. We plan on putting luscious landscaping. The owners do like landscaping, grass, a lot of trees, a lot of low maintenance type stuff. Kind of shows the breakout, the SRU, PUD, and the PUD here. Sanitary sewer and water as we run along the building, just coming out of the actual office spaces and leading up to 146. This is kind of an overlay of the aerial with the proposed PUD and the existing SVR PUD. Kind of give some kind of scale for everybody. Details, of course, from the city. Here's some elevation views. Like I said, the color's gonna be real quiet, real simple, real low key. There will be roll doors in the back, which will not be facing to the city at all. You'll see the glass fronts on the first building facing the city. Little facades, different paintings. There'll be some detailed cuts in the tilt wall. If anyone knows about tilt wall, you can do quite a bit of features and details in tilt wall to make it look pretty nice. You can have the downlights for the night for security. And this whole facility will be secured with fencing, barbed wire, electric gates, closures. The business hours will probably run around 7 to 5 daily, no weekends, in and out. That's why the owners would like to call it quiet, because that's what he's going to put forth towards the city is no noises, no horns blowing. The truckers will be, coming in at slow speeds, not to make a lot of noises. Just some more projects we have done. That's kind of the conceptual rendering of the facility. You can see the contours in the tilt wall to make it, and the glass. A lot of landscaping, parking. What we got is the location here on the bottom, site location, and this is the 7/10 mile port road from the port, and then heading south on 146, 1.23 miles. So there's not a lot of time traveling on these trucks to get to our location. Again, it's just about 50 trucks a day back and forth to the port, loading and unloading, 5 o'clock, gates closed. On the entrance, we've discussed, we still have to get some answers from TxDOT We've listened to the concerns from some of the citizens on the last P&Z on trying to get this truck traffic to only go north when they exit. There's some curbing we can pour in here. It's a typical, we can pour where they come into and exit, only go back up, not down into the city streets at all. We're waiting on TxDOT to give us some answers on that, being it's in the road right away. Site location, here's the property to the north of us. Again, it's like Sean described. We're trying to build that barrier of what's coming, because this is a investment here we're trying to protect, and might as well go ahead and do it with our own tilt wall to get the noise and sights and sounds out of the way. The breakout of the zonings, like Sean showed earlier. Again, the R2 just south of the SRPUD, which is a barrier also from our PUD to the residences as well. And another example of the tilt wall warehousing, just trucks backed up to the warehouse, real nice and clean. Limited access, like I said, 7 to 5. We're trying to, run a business here that's good for us and also good for the city. We want to be a good partner to the city as well. Again, the fencing, and this secures any kind of blown trash or environmental that doesn't go into the city. We'll collect it down the fence rows, and it keeps people from coming in and vandalizing the facility, spray painting the walls, making an eyesore to the city and our facilities. Lots of landscaping, like I said. We're looking to go in, there'll be a lot of opportunities for employment for the cities, in residences. There's going to be some forklift driving, of course, truck drivers, of course, warehouse pickers, loaders, office personnel. And I believe that's the end of my presentation.
Okay, council questions?
Yes. I just want to confirm that all ingress and egress is now planned for 146. There'll be none on Red Bluff, correct?
No, sir, none on Red Bluff. Like I said, we presented the comment that came out of P&Z about the traffic going down Red Bluff. We don't want to allow that. And I don't think the truckers, to be honest, want to get in that tight situation either. I'll be honest with you. But we're going to plan on doing, I'm sure you've seen them going to most restaurants nowadays where they pour these massive esplanades out front in solid concrete. You can only go right. They're not going to let you cross traffic anymore in these cities. So that's what we're planning on doing. We're just waiting for TxDOT to get the approval on that.
Mike?
So we're talking about the ingress and egress. Who will repair or fix the roads right there? Since you're going to have so many trucks coming in and out, I'm concerned about that asphalt right there. And I'm sure Kevin and these guys.
Sure, I understand. That's a good question.
And obviously a little bit wider too, because I love the drawings and I love that the trucks are hidden and you're really not going to see them. I was kind of concerned how that all was going to fit.
Yes, sir.
But
it's a roadway. It's TxDOT, and they have we're waiting on their reply. They're studying and looking at it. They're out there doing their due diligence on road widths, base material, and they might come back to us and say, you guys have to do a little improvement out of pocket costs, in which we'd have to do it.
So once you pick up the product from the port, then another truck's going to pick that up and take it out to 146 down.
Yes, sir.
Straight across to Red Bluff somewhere.
It'd be a flatbed or a van, whatever's been ordered.
Oh, okay.
It's going to Home Depots, the flooring, mostly local retailers.
Jackie?
Okay, a few things. I'm a little disappointed that it even got here because I, for one, don't want any warehouses. I know the citizens, I've heard time and time again, do not want warehouses. I'd love to see this go down Red Bluff to Pasadena, where it's turning into that, accommodating the port. This is the last little bit of developed or undeveloped property that we have, and it's facilitating the port, not the residents. What it brings to the residents is a little bit of tax money, a few jobs, but a lot of noise. I don't believe in this quietness. 50 trucks in and out a day, that's going to be loud. We have so much issue already in that section that is disturbing the residences on a daily basis. Adding any of this into that area, I do not support. And I'm surprised that the owner of the RV park I feel like he's risking the RV park to accommodate this next building, because I can't imagine going to that RV park, which is nicely done, and then now getting to see barbed wire, electric fences, and hear truck traffic all day. I mean, that doesn't seem like somebody, that, I just don't see how that's gonna be a good partner for
I
that.
understand.
I guess that's all I have to say. I think that's being blanketed as a quiet warehousing, and I don't see it being quiet at all.
Again, you state the facts. The owner is the owner of the RV park and this facility as well. He's staking it on being quiet. If y'all would, you just don't know the man. I mean, the man is very professional.
But trucks aren't quiet. Rolling at 50, rolling up.
Yes, ma'am. He's probably going to have his own trucking line. He hires and buys his own tugs to tug his own freight back and forth. It'll be top notch, all brand new stuff.
And again, Mike makes a good point about the roadways. We're spending
Yes.
money trying to get. And
Yes, ma'am.
There's no way it's going to be able to hold up with all the weight on that.
Again, TxDOT, we're going to TxDOT, and, if we were putting an intersection out there in a highway, we would definitely be spending $300,000 putting a red light in, a traffic study, controls, paint, striping. We've done it before, and we'll do it again if that's necessary. If TxDOT recommends, we'll do it. Absolutely.
That's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Tom.
So you're asking us to approve this PUD, but the traffic study has not been completed. Is that accurate?
That's correct. But talking to the traffic engineer, any impact at all.
My biggest concern is that the intersection underneath Red Bluff is already a nightmare. You're
We
gonna
won't be going
add-
to the Red Bluff.
You're going underneath the bridge to Red Bluff on the other side.
We're just coming from the port.
Well, you may be, but you're picking up.
Sure. Most of those.
You're only talking about half.
Yes, sir. Most of those destinations are going to hit 146 because your retailers are in big cities, Baytown, everywhere, Home Depots.
Right.
We're not going to people's houses down subdivisions with 18-wheelers. This is heavy haul traffic on the interstate.
Totally understand what you're saying. My point is that we're adding more trucks to come and pick up and then be delivered.
Yes, sir.
At that intersection. That intersection is a nightmare now. I'm just really concerned about making it worse than it already is.
And that's probably some of the studying TxDOT's going to do, is look at those exactly traffic studies you're talking about.
Have we, the second point is, have we done a study through the city that because you don't want to have the right size pond, so you're going to have to pump it out into our ditches.
At the design
already
outfall
addressed
rate.
that's going to work?
Yes,
and
sir.
is there a generator that backs up that pump?
It can be, yes.
Well, shouldn't be can. It's got
Well,
to.
I have to get with the engineering. I can't answer for it, but I'm sure it is. Building code is going to require that.
So it's a typical detention pond like we have throughout the community, so it will be engineered. Kind of to digress, this is a preliminary approval, so this is a two-part process. You guys would be, if it's approved tonight, you're approving the concept, and then all the detail information that you're talking about will come back to this body in a document that will be reviewed by you, and additions and subtractions can be added to that document if you move forward with the second approval.
Anyone else? The one issue that I would be concerned with is that area. A few months ago, we were presented with a project that came in here that had high-density housing on this adjacent property. We turned it down because there was something like, 240 houses on a small plot of land, is almost zero lot line, and rental houses. The state legislature did not pass that ordinance because they ran out of time due to them talking about the education bills, and they ran out of time and didn't pass it. I was just at a seminar where we can be guaranteed that that's going to be passed next session. We cannot stop that at that point. That is going to be a state law that we would have to allow that high-density housing project. And I guarantee that guy's coming back. as soon as this passes. If we want to talk about how much traffic there's going to be 5 times the amount of traffic if that amount of housing goes on that property. So, you know, I'm not going to say it's the less of two evils, but it is. You know, a housing project like that, and people in this community want housing. They don't want business. They want housing. That would be disastrous to anybody that wants to get on Red Bluff, because they'll exit directly on Red Bluff. So it's a matter of, are we trying to protect our town from that, or we just don't want to see a traffic? By the way, TxDOT, as I understand it, is looking at a project right now to redo Old Highway 146 in that area. It is a TxDOT project, as I recall. So I think TxDOT is seeing that, you know, that there was a problem at this point, and they're trying to alleviate all of those issues that we are looking at on Old Highway 146. So I just want to make council aware of what's happening in Austin, because, you know, we looked at that project and, you know, it was unanimous. We also approved this area for development in our master plan when we met. And as I recall, that was a unanimous vote to approve warehousing in these projects, in these areas. So I'm a little confused now as to why we're reneging on that. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I just wanted to let council know of what's happening in Austin. We just I just had a meeting with Texas Municipal League. They are assuring us, by the way, it had all the votes that it needed. They just ran out of time in session. So,
I got something.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to add on, I mean, I can agree, you know, we'd all like to have single-family homes there, high-end restaurants, et cetera. But go back to the 1950s when Humble Oil and Refining, through condemnation, built the ditch, the Bayport Channel. There was a community at the end called Red Bluff Terrace. These were homes, but they were evicted. And that's what started the ball rolling. And if you could read the paper at the time and the press release, they were talking about steel mills down here and everything else. And yeah, I would like to see, you know, another River Oaks up there, but that ain't gonna happen. Because where the stables are, the port has that land, and that's right behind the hotel. And so, trust me, they're not gonna put, well, I have an idea what they're gonna put there. I can't say for sure, but I got a feeling it's not gonna be single-family homes. So in terms of a buffer, that's what we're trying to do. Because if you have something there other than bare land, when you try to come in through eminent domain and seize that land, it gets a lot more expensive if you have a building there and a warehouse there or something, because the price goes way up. Where the stables are right now, that's bare land. Plus the fact the port has got a bunch of friends in Austin that we don't have. So with that being said, I would like to approve 6.1.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It passes.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
6.2, consider to take appropriate action on the request to amend the Code of Ordinances by the City of Seabrook Appendix A, Comprehensive Zoning Article 4, Special Use Regulation by creating a new section 4.27 entitled Portable On-Demand Storage Container to establish associated regulations. An amendment to Seabrook Code of Ordinance Appendix A, Comprehensive Zoning Article 4, Special Use Regulations by creating a new section 4.27 entitled Portable On-Demand Storage Container, establishing associated regulations, providing a penalty in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for violation of any provision hereof by inclusion into the code, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent or in conflict herewith, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Is there any more discussion? Go ahead.
Sean, my only concern with it is the limiting to one pod at a time. Wherever that was, I saw it a minute ago. If you only have one at a time, I don't know how many people here can fit all of their household goods into a single 8x8x20 container. With that exception, I would support it.
Okay, so as part of your all's motion, whoever makes the motion, if you can give staff some direction on where you would like to change and what you would like to change. If you'd like to change it to 2 pods or 3 pods, if you make that motion, then as part of the vote, then we'll incorporate that into the change, if that's possible.
Okay. Do I have a motion then, Rob?
Did, let me see, let me make sure I get it right here. I move to approve item
6.2.
Can I back up and start over?
You're gonna have to.
There it is, 6.2. I move to approve item 6.2, ordinance regarding portable on-demand storage container, with the amendment that it allow up to 2 storage containers instead of just 1.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Go ahead.
Would there be a possibility if somebody had a situation, they have a, fairly large house and they needed 3, if they were to get requests from the city to, you know what I mean? Would that be allowable, like under certain circumstances?
Ultimately, this is y'all's decision. You could eliminate even the requirement of even limiting the number of storage units. It's still to be 14 days. And because the intent, unless it's under construction, if it falls under a whole different criteria if somebody's constructing, because it could be months that these things are here. But the intent is typically what they're used for is for people moving. So within a 14-day period, you should be able to come in, pack up what you need to pack up, and remove them from the site. And so, again, if you are okay with multiple containers being there, typically why there was 1 or 2 is it becomes problematic because these things can't go in the yard, they can't go in the street. So you got a 4-car driveway, and if the maximum size of this container in this ordinance is 8 feet by 8 feet by 20 feet long. So you're going to fill up a driveway if you get the maximum size, and that is the largest size that they offer. I did that research. As you guys are aware, one of our P&Z commissioners is in this business. That's what he does for a living. He's in shipping container business, and he had a lot of input on how this process went through.
He did recuse himself from a vote, didn't he?
Pardon?
That's fine. That's fine.
No, because he's not in the actual pod business.
Oh, okay.
He's in the shipping container business. So
Oh.
something we prohibit is
Yes.
shipping containers.
Okay.
And he's in that business. So
I'm
he
sorry.
understands size and transportation and all that stuff.
Okay, any more comments?
I think it's based on what's going on in the event. So I don't think we need to limit it to how many, because like he was saying earlier, you could have 3 possibly, but really, would you need that? If there is a hurricane, we're going to give some leniency on that. And so it's going to be a case-by-case basis, I think. So, and they understand what I think is called for, so.
So we already got a motion to change it to 2, and you're saying you want to take, oh. Okay. Okay. All right, wait.
And then make it amended to without
I think 2 is plenty. Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor
With an amendment.
with an amendment for up to 2 containers. Are we good with that? You want to vote? All in favor? It's unanimous. Great, thank you. Yeah, but I would like to make a recommendation that we move 6.6 forward. We have people waiting here to discuss it. 6.6, is that all right, council, if we move 6.6 up? 6.6, consider and take all appropriate action on the Carruthers Community Garden Operations Agreement between the City of Seabrook and Carruthers Coastal Garden.
Thank you, guys, and thank you all that hung in there. No, looks like we were losing a few there, but appreciate it. I'm Jesse Jones. I'm one of the garden managers out at Carruthers Community Garden, so enjoy the opportunity to come here and tell you guys what's going on. I know you had an opening for me 3 months ago, and I had COVID, and still, frankly, am messing with it, but we'll get through here. By every measure, 2023, yeah, I'll cough on Joe. He'll pass it on. 2023 proved itself to be an outstanding year for the community garden. Undoubtedly, it's the biggest volunteer-driven success story in our city. We've logged over 2,000 hours of volunteer time, which has resulted in over 600 pounds of produce being donated to area food pantries. There's a couple of the guys from, what is it, Nemo? What's the name of their place? Railite. Yeah, Railite Food Pantry. So we've really enjoyed working with those guys. As you can see, we're good at growing eggplant too. So we got quite a few of those. Basically, garden participation was up, what do we got here? Over 300% since 2022. We have 21 garden plot managers and 110 active volunteers. So revenue was also up for the same period. And you can see these are some of the programs that we're putting on for Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts. You saw someone came up earlier and mentioned some of the programs that we do to basically anyone that asks. I didn't realize that there were so many different troops and divisions of different ages of scouts. When I was a scout, we were all one big troop. There was Troop 95 here in Seabrook, and that was it. Which they are still here, am I right? So there you go. So once again, we have 21 garden plot managers, 110 active volunteers that keep this whole thing moving along. So our revenue for last year up. This is actually Beacon Federal Credit Union made a donation. Seabrook Association was a big donor. We had Marathon Oil, Native Plant Society of Texas, and private sponsors, a few plant sales. So this has allowed us to expand our educational and outreach programs. So seed and plant distributions underway. We have a partnership with Botanical Interest Seeds. This is just a fraction of what's been donated. They actually have donated, by their records, $30,000 worth of seeds. That's vegetables, herb, flowers, literally truckloads. We then distributed that to Harris County Master Gardener Groups, Galveston County Master Gardener Groups, and to the Harris County Public Library System and CCISD for use in their various programs. Our tree giveaway with trees supplied by our partners at Trees of Houston was a huge success. 230 3-gallon hardwood trees given away to the Seabrook community. We have another tree giveaway planned for March, so keep your eye on the schedule, and I'm sure we'll get that information out there when we have an exact date. So weekday guided tours. I don't know how that guy's picture got in there. So this was actually a cool deal. So one of the trees over here at the Veterans Memorial died in the freeze, and trying to get one right before what, Joe, are we doing? We were having something over there. So called up Trees for Houston, told them exactly what we needed, sent them a picture of the dead one, and they sent me home with this. So it matched it exactly. So that worked out really well. Once again, our nature walks, we've been given these. These have actually been weekday walks. Our own Samantha Conaway is actually doing her Master Naturalist program right now through Texas A&M outreach program. So we'll have her leading hopefully some weekend walks here pretty quick. We were blessed to have Ruslan. Are you still here? There he is. Stand up. So to come in here and help the garden out, who built this absolutely fantastic compost unit that has to be seen to be believed, and that was all part of his Eagle Scout requirements. Not to be outdone, Isabella, are you still here? Stand up, Isabella. So Isabella comes in here and builds us a water harvesting program here. Put all the barrels in, did all the work herself. And so we're anxious to get that all hooked up to our gutter system and start using the water that comes off that. So she did that for her Star Award which is the equivalent of Eagle Scout Award for the Girl Scouts. So excited about that. Our partnership basically with the Harris County Public Library System, Galveston Bay Foundation, Clear Creek Independent School District, just to name a few, have led Carruthers Community Garden being recognized as one of the preeminent community gardens in the greater Houston area. This, according to Urban Harvest, an organization which oversees over 130 community and school gardens in a tri-county area that includes Harris, Galveston, and Brazoria County. Our partnership with the League City Garden Club has helped us to establish Gardens in Schools program. We currently have 7 campuses in CCISD enrolled, 2 of those in Seabrook, and we're just getting started. Our partnership with the Harris County Public Library System has resulted in classes being presented by our team members. Beginning in March, we've got Earthkind Landscaping with native plants taught by yours truly. Another one in April, one of our members, Natalie, is teaching something. Nemo, haven't you been drafted to do so? So bottom line, we have got a whole bunch of stuff coming up, and it's looking like our 2024 is going to be our best year ever. So this literally was taken, this picture was taken Sunday or Monday, I believe. The garden is really shaping up. It's never looked this good this early. It's, as you can see, and for those of you that are gardeners, I would love you to come out and take a look and see exactly what we're doing. So looking forward to our best 2024, and thank you for all your support through 2023. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Yeah.
Okay, Jesse, when this thing first started back in 2021, it was promoted to council as a community garden for people to come in and have plots where they could garden. At that time, you provided us with an Excel spreadsheet showing 97 people that either had signed up or were interested. Spring of 2022, the planning was done. You made a presentation. You had 100 people on the waiting list. 40 of the lots were already taken. Then in May, I think it was May of 23, you sent an email saying that half the plots have been converted to community plots, which to me indicates that there's been a fall off of individuals that want to take over a whole plot. Is this correct?
All the people, the numbers that you talk about, there were people that actually just filled out a form and said, hey, we're interested in a community garden. So those are not people that actually signed up to take a plot. But what we found out, the first year we went in and we leased up, if you can call it that, 100% of the plots. And we thought, oh, this is great. We've got 27 people or whatever it was to take care of 27 plots. What we realized when we did that is that we locked out the community. If all of us have a plot, I can't invite the public in to say, hey, come in here and clean up our plots because, well, it's mine and it's Joe's and it's Buddy's and stuff, and you just need to come in and help us. What we did in talking to other gardens in the area, they kind of laughed and told us the same story. They said, no, you need to make a portion of it community. So that's what we did. So we literally made a concerted effort to not get any more private plots, as it were, and to convert. And right now we've got a third of the garden converted to community plots, which means everyone comes out. Everyone takes care of the community plots. You've got 21, I believe, that are privately, and owned is a bad word because we don't own it, that comes in. They decide what gets planted in that plot. Now, if they plant it full of tomatoes, you can only eat so many tomatoes. So what ends up happening is most of that gets donated also. So we've got the things that are grown in the community plots. The garden managers decide what we're going to grow. We work in tandem with the food bank, and they kind of tell us, hey, folks love okra. You know, we're like, okay, okra grows great. Hey, they love the eggplants you guys did. Hey, they love this. The peppers, huge deal. So we kind of know from season to season what we're going to plant. So and I think what you're basing this on, I said last time I spoke that our income was down due to us our lease income was down. But we did that on purpose. Because what we found is by getting the community more involved, proceeds, donation things are up because we actually have people approaching us, say, hey, how can we help you? You guys are the community garden. Y'all are giving all this food away. You're doing all this training for Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. How can we help? So if that makes sense that less is more, by opening the garden up and not leasing those plots and making them public plots has helped us.
Okay, and along those lines, because the times I've been down there, I can't get in unless somebody's there. And then there's only been a few times that somebody's been there. So how do we open it up more for the community? Because the community paid for it. And, you know, if you're saying that we want more community involvement, what's your plan to get more people in and so they can have access to get in?
Well, anybody can get in. My number's on the gate, Nemo's number's on the gate. I get maybe 1 or 2 calls a month saying, hey, can we come see the community garden? I give it freely. Now, one thing I think a lot of folks don't understand is that piece of property, it's basically 120 feet by 200, has had a fence around it and a locked gate for the last 17 years. No one's been on that property. It was the old not public works, basically the parks department where they stored mowers, tractors. It was even animal control. There's still cages in there with drains in the floor where, you know, lost dogs went. So we took what was an abandoned parking lot covered with weeds, tractor parts, and animal carcasses, and literally with our own, you know, blood, sweat, and tears went out there and built these beds and turned it into something beautiful. We love having people in, and there actually are people out there most every weekend during the weekday, catch as catch can. I have no problem in letting whoever comes in, because when somebody calls me, I'm like, oh, 2020, it's a combination. It's nothing, we don't hold any secrets about it, but at least I have a record of that person that's trying to get in. 3 times we've had somebody kick the gate in. They come in and literally wiped out every vegetable, like on the day before we go make our donation. So we don't want just anyone coming in. Or if they do, we want a record of that. Now, we talked about a couple of opportunities, either having that sign on there for access, call this number, but you yourself mentioned Saturday and Sundays are probably the best day when we have more people out and about. Also, the guard shack is manned. The young ladies there at the guard shack that take care of that put a sign on the gate for access, walk 50 feet over here and ask Sherry or Isabella for the combination. They take a picture of their driver's license, tell them the combination, they go over there, look around, do their thing. Have absolutely no problem with that, and that would open it up. Because right now, not only is it the vegetables that I just don't want somebody, as hard as we work, somebody to go in there and just stomp it, you know, somebody come in there, a bunch of teenagers on a Friday night and destroy the place. But we also still have thousands of dollars in materials and pots and you know, tools, wheelbarrows, hose, rakes, weed eaters, you name it, that are all stored out there. So,
Okay, so what are you going to do to promote it to the community to get more people down there?
well, right now we're not allowed to promote it through the city. So the fact that we don't have an operating agreement, I sent out press releases for both our nature walks and our tree giveaway, and was told by staff that we're not allowed to promote it through any city outlets. So there's that right there. Samantha does a fantastic job right now of putting our stuff out on social media. So everything that we promote right now is private through our Facebook page, but we would love to have an agreement with the city where we could get the word out.
Okay, with regard to the agreement, you've got a copy of what was proposed, correct?
Right, correct.
Are there any issues that you have with that?
We have 4 or 5 issues with that, and I'm sorry I did not get our response back in time for it to be in your packet. Nothing in there is disastrous, just a couple things like we just talked about that need to be, you know, nailed
I
out.
did read one of the comments you made, you're expecting the city to pay for the maintenance?
Just like any other amenity, I mean, the city pays for the maintenance on the swimming pool, city pays for the maintenance on the skateboard park. I wouldn't, you know, right now it's city
But
buildings.
at the beginning, Jesse, when we started this whole thing, it was supposed to be self-sustaining, and now maintenance, and that's a blank check. It's not even defined.
Well, we have a pole barn and a couple of shade structures, so I don't know really how much, you know, maintenance we'd get into, but, you know, right now we take care of all the needs we have. Like I said, we have managed to get some income going. For instance, one of the shade structures is about to collapse. We bought 3 steel posts. They've been welded, painted, and are ready to go. I don't want our volunteers doing it because if it comes down on our heads, then, you know, everybody's going to get sued. We have a wooden fence that exists out there that has existed since day one that's about to fall down, that you guys have, you know, I've asked you about it. You know, this is like number 7 publicly. There's money set aside to redo that fence as a chain link fence. It's good gosh, it's from here to the parking lot. It's 120 feet. There's a lot of things that should have been taken care of up to now, but we right now maintain every bit of that. We come out there, we clean it, we rake it, we order gravel, we order our soil, we maintain the plumbing that's out there. only place I know of in Seabrook that's literally taken care of by the people that use it. So yes, to your point, the expenses that are related to what we do out there are minuscule, you know, so I certainly I expect the city to support it like they would any other amenity in Seabrook.
I guess my only thing would be is like, the city provides maintenance for the rest of its parks, but everybody has unlimited access to it. And I understand your point of some sort of restriction. But when I'm going to go to the citizens and they're saying, gee, we're paying for maintenance, we're paying the utilities, et cetera, for this, why can't I go in whenever I want?
They can go in there.
Because if you go to the library, they've got 14 plots, 14 raised beds out there. They've been there for years. And there's never been an incident of where they've been ransacked or damaged or trashed. But one other thing too, you're talking about your 110 volunteers. I know the last time we did a reconciliation of liability releases versus people, they didn't add up. So have all these 110 signed a liability release?
I don't have that record.
Who would be responsible for that?
Samantha would probably have those records, and we generally update you guys with everything you need.
Okay, because I mean, if we're going to have a relationship, a working relationship, there are things that we've said you need to do, and there are things that, you know, that the city's going to do.
Well, if you want us to leave the property open, how are we going to account for people coming and going in the property?
I don't know. All I'm saying is that if the city is going to invest all its money in there and have its maintenance, and that's a blank check on maintenance, because it's not itemized as to what you want, then there's got to be something worked out to where we have greater access for our citizens.
Well, I mean, I can compare this to the swimming pool, buddy. We can do this all night long.
I can go down to the swimming pool
If
and
I
show
feel
you.
like going to the swimming pool this evening, can I go? Well, no, the gates are locked for a reason. So.
Well, that's because the pool's closed down, but when it's open, all I got to do is show my ID and I'm in.
Really? Anytime, night and day? I'm not going to argue with it, buddy.
So an opportunity may be that at some point you decide, as soon as you start to plant, maybe every Saturday and Sunday it's open for 6 hours, and maybe a volunteer during that 6 hours would be there. Maybe that, and that could be rotated potentially. I totally understand and get what you're saying. I wouldn't want them trampling or stealing or whatever. I get all that. But I think for it to be accessible to the citizens, we would have a schedule that we would be open, that's convenient for the volunteers as well, something that might work out. That might be an approach that we could take a look at and say, okay, 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock, whatever it is you decide.
To your point, we normally do a 9 to noon thing almost every
But
Saturday.
that could actually be formalized and part of our agreement that during a period of time of planting, that may be, and that would really may ease some of the concern about being accessible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll work, like I said, there's not a deal killer in any of this agreement. So working out things like that, I have absolutely no problem with, so.
Anyone else? More comments? Okay.
What I would like to see, since you guys have given us your list, we have now developed our list back. Maybe if you guys get an opportunity to take a look at that, I have no problem meeting with a couple of you, so we don't have to do it in public forum, and nailing out these last few details, present it back to you. If everybody's happy with it, we get on down the road.
Well, we don't know your comments. Do you have those out? I
have several.
I haven't seen them.
Jesse, is that in reference to the email sent late this afternoon?
No, I don't think I sent an email, did I?
I forwarded your email to council.
Okay, I hadn't had a chance.
Oh, okay.
I propose
Yeah,
that
chance to
see it.
and approve something we don't know about.
It's basically, I've got a couple, there's like 5 items that were on your 3-page or whatever document that I said, here's our suggestion. You asked for percentages of number of plots left open. I responded. You asked for a combination that the city should be able to get in. We've talked about that. Couple of other things. You'll support or not support the electricity, water, and internet. I go down this, what we have, what we use. Operator, you guys shall require any volunteer participate in activities on the property involving direct contact with youth to complete an application and background check. I've got comments on that.
So let me ask you, Jesse. So we have this, you came back with some, the city sent an agreement. You had markups on it.
Correct.
I have not seen those markups. I don't know if anybody else has seen those. You have seen them? I think without having those comments in the proposal or in the agreement, I don't think we can move on it tonight. But if we can
concur,
sit down and hash those out, is that all right?
That's what I'd like to do. That's what
So do I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we revisit this, what is it? 6.5?
6.6.
6.6 at a future date so we can discuss the differences between open spaces and trails and city council.
Or just the garden.
Or the garden.
Community garden.
Community garden.
Do I hear a second? Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, thanks, Jesse.
Thank you, guys.
I am hopeful that when this comes back up, we're not talking about our differences, we're talking about specific resolution.
Correct. Okay. Okay, we're done with this conversation. 6.3, consider and take all appropriate action on a request to amend the Seabrook City Code of Ordinance by revising Chapter 18, Building and Building Regulations, more specifically, Section 18-121, Building Code Adoption, Section 18-122, same amendments, subsection 10, windstorm standards, and Section 18-123, one-family and two-family dwelling code adopted, Section 18-124, same amendments, Section 6, wind speed by modifying the wind design standard from 155 miles an hour to 150 miles an hour. We're having a mass exodus. An ordinance amending the Seabrook City Code of Ordinances by revising Chapter 18, Building and Building Regulations, more specifically Section, do I have to read this again? 18-121, Building Code Adopted, Section 18-122, same amendments, subsection 10, windstorm standards, and Section 18-123, one-family and two-family dwelling code adopted. Section 18-124, same amendments. Subsection 6, wind speed by modifying the wind design standard from 155 miles an hour ultimate design wind speed to 150 miles an hour ultimate design wind speed, providing a penalty in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for violation of any provision hereof, and inclusion into the code, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances inconsistent or in conflict herewith, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve 6.3.
Second.
Yeah, right. All that for 5 miles an hour. Anyway, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, now I lost my space. 6.5, consider and take all appropriate action to authorize the city manager or her designee to participate.
6.4?
What I did. I'm sorry, 6.4. Discuss, consider, and take all appropriate action relating to an amendment to the Seabrook City Code Appendix A Comprehensive Zoning, Article 3, Establishment of Zoning Districts and Associated Regulations, Section 3.02, RLD Low Density Single Family Residential District, Section 3.03, Residential R1 Single Family Detached Residential District, Section 3.04, R2 Single Family Residential District, which small lots, Section 3.05, R3 Medium Density Residential District, establishing regulations concerning the outside placement of an item within the front yard of a residential use for a period of more than 72 hours during a 12-month period. An amendment to Seabrook City Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Comprehensive Zoning, Article 3, Establishment of Zoning Districts and Associated Regulations, Section 3.02, RLD Low Density Single Family Residential District, Section 3.04, R2 Single Family Detached Residential District, Small Lots, Section 3.05, R3 Medium Density Residential District, and Section 3.02, or 3.12, Old Seabrook Residential District by creating a new section entitled Outside Storage, establishing regulations concerning the outside placement of an item within the front yard of a residential use for a period of more than 72 hours during a 12-month period. Providing for penalty in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for violation of any provision hereof by inclusion into the code, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent or in conflict herewith, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve 6.4.
Second.
Could you take? Yeah, could you?
Can we discuss this?
I'm sorry, but I would like to read that into the amendment.
Oh, okay. Can we discuss this for a while?
Okay.
I would like to just say, to amend that motion to approve with the amendment of the play equipment, adding grocery carts and noting holiday decorations.
Are you saying that you don't want Griswold-looking Christmas stuff? I don't have an issue with Christmas stuff.
No, I'm just saying, noting that that's not included, holiday decorations.
Yeah, we didn't, we still needed a second on the original amendment.
On the amendment, we need a second to consider.
I'll second the amended one.
Got the second.
Okay, Tom got it.
So just to clarify for staff so I do it correctly, what your amendment is to modify the playground equipment section to allow tree swings and patio swings in the front yard, to remove the grocery cart reference.
No, add a grocery cart
Add grocery
reference,
cart? I think
because that is an issue.
I think
that
it's
was
in
a-
there, Pat.
Okay, and then.
That's what she was joking about.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it in there, so, but it should be in there, because there's probably more than one. And then just note that holiday decorations are not included in this ordinance.
Okay.
So because people are freaking out about it.
Well, Christmas decorations at Easter time is not a problem?
It's tasteful.
I would think that there would be a time frame on that, guys. All right, calm down. But again, that is a point. You know, are they allowed to have Christmas decorations throughout the year or just around Christmas time?
Because there's a state law on religious icons and reality.
Okay.
It is.
Sean, if I remember your comments earlier, I may have misunderstood. Yard decorations, Christmas, Halloween, St. Patty's Day, whatever it happens to be, they are covered under separate ordinance, correct?
Well, right now, there is no requirements that those things ever have to be taken down in any of our ordinances, so there's nothing.
So this doesn't
and
include.
this ordinance doesn't address that, so
Okay.
it doesn't speak to it, so I have no enforcement power. I get, an easy way to explain it is for me to do enforcement, I have to be able to write a citation. And for me to write a citation, I have to quote a section out of the code or of law. And there's nothing in this ordinance that would ever give me that power. So I can put the exclusion, but it never spoke to it to begin with.
So Jackie, you want to amend your?
Right, exactly.
Again, we're not an HOA, and you're getting into too much detail is what I feel like we're, so that's my personal opinion.
The original motion is just to approve. The amendment
Oh,
is
okay.
up for grabs right now.
But right now, from my understanding, right now, all you're doing is asking me to elaborate in the ordinance and put another exception in there that this doesn't affect Christmas tree lighting, Christmas lights, St. Patty's.
I think if you put that out there, it will clarify from people calling in saying, you know, somebody's holiday decoration, or whatever, just saying that that's not part of this ordinance, and leave it at that, the holiday decorations.
Okay, we
I
have,
can write something like that,
Okay.
but it doesn't address it now.
As an amendment.
okay,
That's
we
the
have,
first
we
one.
have, we have a motion and a second on the amendment.
The amendment.
So we have to
whether
vote
that
first on the amendment. Okay, so all in favor of the amendment, which Jackie made? Well, we don't want to approve it. All in favor of that amendment? So you don't want to be in favor of that.
All in favor of the amendment, not the original
So let's be
approval.
clear on what the amendment was.
The amendment was
To specify, to clarify about the play equipment, to allow swings, for instance, to make sure that did you say that the grocery carts were already in there? Okay, I didn't see it, so disregard that, I guess.
And then to.
Christmas.
Just note that the holiday decorations are not included in this ordinance, so people aren't,
Yeah, but you can't change it. First we have to
That's
vote
what-
on the,
That was it.
Right, you have to do it as originally stated in the amendment. We can't take anything out yet.
and then.
Can I amend my amendment?
Not
Not yet.
Not yet.
You have to vote.
Can I
first.
withdraw my motion?
No, just
Okay.
vote no.
What do I need to do here?
Just vote no.
Y'all can vote on the amendment first, and then decide where you want to go from there. It might be-
the motion with everything you have in it and just approve that motion.
There's one more level of amendments if someone wants to do it.
Just vote no, and then we'll start over.
Yeah, let's just vote no and then just read it.
All in favor of the vote on the amendment? All opposed? Great. Okay. Now make another motion.
I move to approve 6.4.
This will be that'll be a new amendment because we can't return to the original motion and
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion, my amended motion to only clarifying the play equipment and adding holiday decorations are excluded from this wording.
okay. Is
Holiday.
there a second?
That's fine. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
Exclusion of holiday decorations and playground equipment.
Okay.
Just to clarify,
All in
to
favor,
specify that.
all in favor of the amendment, raise your hands. Okay.
Hey, there we go.
All in favor of the original amendment, raise your hands.
The original.
Original motion,
Yes.
of
Which
the
is
original
just
motion.
And this
Raise your
motion
hands.
will pass with the
Yes,
amendment.
yes.
If you approve it.
Okay. Perfect.
We got that.
Thanks, y'all.
We don't know, we passed something, let's let it go. Okay, okay, I'm sorry, we have kept our fire department here all night. 6.5, consider and take all appropriate action to authorize the city manager or her designee to participate in interlocal cooperative pricing arrangement with a by-board purchasing system for the purchase of Enforcer Pumper second generation large fire apparatus replacement in the amount of $1,237,466. This purchase is with the 2023 bond program. Gail?
All right, Mayor and Council, Chief Nathan Douglas is with us today. If you read the agenda briefing, Nathan has formed a committee. So you recently approved a resolution that would allow us to go on with the purchases before we actually complete the sale of the bonds. And Chief has delivered that. The proposal that's attached in your specification sheets go into a lot of detail. And I assume, Chief, you can give us a 5-second summary on what your committee has turned over.
Thank you, City Manager Gale. I don't do 5 seconds very well. My name is Nathan Douglas. I was elected fire chief in November of 2023, and I live at 3402 Bay Breeze on Seabrook Island. I brought with me tonight Assistant Chief Aaron Bristow. He's also a Seabrook resident. He was elected in January of 2024, and I brought our project manager with us, Will Topoff, and he works for Siddons Martin Apparatus, the dealership that we're buying the apparatus from. I would like to give you a brief history so the City Council is informed, and as well as our citizens, of this process and how we do it. We don't just open a catalog and pick a truck. So we're very mission driven, and this truck here would be a first out apparatus to structure fires. So we identify the mission, which is structure fires, and we then go and look at today's technology, and we use our truck specifications from the ones we've bought previously, and we build on that. So our same committee stays in place. We had some new members, and they build on our previous specs which would be the engine we bought in 2015. So this engine we're replacing is one of the very first apparatuses we bought from Siddons Martin and the Pierce Company. That was in 2004. So it's 20 years old this year. And by the time the delivery of this one makes it here, it will probably be 3 to 5 years from now. There are thousands of apparatuses on order. So that's how our process goes. We have 4 members on the truck committee. Aaron Bristow headed that truck committee up, and he works with our project manager, and they build the specification on today's best practices and technological advances, if you will. I would like to speak a little bit about our dealership and the product. Siddons Martin, we started a relationship with them when we bought our first pumpers in 2004. And although I personally love the Pierce product, and you should too, because you have the best for the city, in my opinion, it's more, not so much the product as much as the dealership. So Siddons Martin is the dealership that has grown exponentially in 20 years. They have an impeccable service center throughout all the region, but especially here in Houston. And our service center that we use is right here in Friendswood, and they have a huge shop in Houston as well. So they have never failed us and met any of the challenges, not been able to meet any of the challenges with an apparatus. They cover these trucks bumper to bumper, where other manufacturers piece together trucks from different manufacturers, like the chassis is a different manufacturer, the ladder is a different manufacturer, the body is a different manufacturer. And when something happens, they wash their hands of it and say, well, that's the chassis people, that's not us. We've never encountered that in 20 years. In addition to that, they also have mobile mechanics. And we've actually been on fire scenes, and just like anything can go wrong or have a truck issue. If it's severe enough, I can pick up the phone, the commander can pick up the phone, and the mobile mechanics can come to the scene. We've actually used that service before. So it's really beyond the Pierce product, it's the dealership. I'm very familiar with the dealership. I actually know the owners of the dealership that started this business, I don't even know how long ago, probably in the 90s. And it's a monster. So I appreciate all y'all's support of our fire department. I also wanted to add in, I really appreciate y'all's support and continued support of Seabrook EMS as well. We work hand in hand with them, and y'all are the tip of the spear by taking that leap of faith in 2019. So your continued support of that organization, I appreciate as well. So that's it in a nutshell, a little bit more than 5 seconds. Any questions?
So the truck we're replacing, what are the plans for that? Is there any value in that?
There is, and it will most likely be traded in. It will have 25 years of service life by the time this one arrives, so most likely we'll trade it in.
Okay. Have we looked at what that value is?
I have no idea what the value is today.
Okay.
We did kind of some preliminary stuff, and we're looking like, I wouldn't even want to guess, 150,000 to 200,000 maybe. 5 years from now, I don't know.
I understand. Okay, I just wondered what.
Yeah, it would be traded in with that dealership.
Okay.
They run it right through to the aftermarket.
And that was a Pierce also?
Yes. Everything you own,
Well, how come it didn't last?
is Pierce.
Oh, good.
Say again?
I said it was a Pierce, right?
Correct.
Well, how come it didn't last any longer?
That's 25 years, we're doing pretty good. We traded in with Siddons Martin, correct? Yes, that's the current plan
I
today.
understand. Okay, Mike?
In my business, we, especially in this amount, and I'm not saying we have to do this, but we usually get 3 bids. And I understand, you've worked with him and what have you, but I would always like to see a second bid just to kind of compare, but, and I'm not denying this one bit, but did he give us the employee discount is the question I want to have, because if we've already purchased something from him in the past, make sure this is the best price.
I understand that. The little I know about bidding, I know a little bit about it. We go through the HGAC, which is a bidded project.
It took 5, almost 6 years to build 146. Why does it take that long to build a fire truck?
We're in a
Feel
line.
free, Will.
How in-depth on the economy do we want to get this? So, long story short, there's been a huge influx of orders in the entire fire apparatus industry since COVID hit. You injected $2 trillion worth of
funds into the American economy. It trickled through the municipal tax system, and that allowed departments that could have never bought fire apparatus before to buy fire apparatus. So the order intake significantly increased at a time when labor shortages and product shortages from our suppliers were low, which caused a movement in the backlog. As larger cities saw movement in that backlog, they knew that they needed to replace their apparatus. So they looked forward into their apparatus replacement plan, started buying ahead. And so we started chasing our own tail, so orders continue to increase. We don't see this leveling out until potentially 2030, based off of our economists' projections, but who knows at this point.
But that's why we knew this going into the bond.
Yes, sir.
We didn't have to order, the truck that we have right now is plenty good for the next 5 or even 10 years. But
And we're committed to servicing that apparatus still until that day.
Correct. So
That's
we
why
were-
we don't have a price yet on the trade-in value, because we don't know what the market looks like at the time that we would take it from you.
Yeah, we knew we weren't gonna really need this truck for the next 5 years. So that was all built into the plan. Rob, did you raise your hand?
No.
Don't do this thing. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
What is?
6.5.
I move to approve 6.5.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Well, we're missing a voter. I don't think we can. We're gonna need to wait on the vote, I believe.
Well, we got a
Oh,
majority.
did y'all get a majority?
Yeah, we got a
Okay.
majority.
Never mind.
Okay.
I'm over here.
Okay, 6.7. Consider and take, oh, thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Consider and take all appropriate action on an interlocal cooperative agreement for automatic EMS assistance between the City of Seabrook and Galveston Area Ambulance Authority and the City of Kemah. Kevin?
Mayor, Council, this is just an agreement that we've come up with between Seabrook EMS and Galveston County for response on the new bypass or the new bridge. The dynamics on getting access on some portions of the bridge is going to be pretty hectic. So it's just an agreement for them to come northbound to a certain point and for us to go southbound due to where the exits and entrances are.
Yeah, so it is somewhat going to be difficult for us to get any northbound access to the bridge without going all the way to Galveston and then coming back.
And that's going all the way to 96.
Yeah.
Making the U-turn and coming back.
Okay.
So,
I understand.
Fire is already, they've already had their agreements in place between Kemah Fire coming over and Seabrook going. That's an agreement that's already in place.
Okay.
We just wanted to set that with the EMS.
Move to approve 6.7.
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
Mayor, Council, thank you.
6.8, hear a presentation by staff and consider and take appropriate action on a trap, neuter, return pilot program.
Mayor, Council, Chief Rolfe will get up and do the presentation that was included in your packets, but this was in response. We had a request, I think, by Councilor Rasco at the end of our last meeting to look at the ordinance. We've had further discussions, and it went over into possibly looking at a TNR program as opposed to touching the wildlife feeding ordinance. So the presentation that is given for you tonight is staff's proposal and recommendations, and then we can open it up for comments and suggestions.
Mayor, Council, as City Manager stated, this is just one proposal. There are other options out there, but this was a mix, if you will, of city resources and volunteers. So we kind of approached it from that angle since we weren't sure exactly how you would want to go. So all of the costs in here are baked in that the city assumes the city would bear those expenses. And the volunteers would actually man the program or be the human factor in the program. We would just provide the resources where it was needed and manage their activity. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So the area we're talking about is down on waterfront. There's a large cat population or feline population in that yellow oblong shaped area. So that's the problem we were going to identify as a target for this pilot program. And really the pilot is just to see, okay, how can we make this work? With the city and volunteers coming together, what is this going to look like in reality or in practice? As I mentioned, the proposed solution is a pilot program. It would only last for 6 months with some very strict guidelines, so we would need to work that out if council approved with our volunteers so that everyone was operating from the same sheet of music, so to speak. We would credential our volunteers, do background checks on them, or at least that's the thought going in. And we would designate that zone down on the waterfront as a TNR zone, put up signage so that that would be the only area in Seabrook where this activity would be allowed. It wouldn't just be all over the city. We're going to work on a pilot. We believe it should be in a focused area so we can really evaluate how effective it is. And then set parameters on the volunteers, like just making sure that we're working together as good partners, but their activity would be managed loosely by animal control, just to keep it on track. These are some of the costs. Again, this is assuming that the city would assume all of these costs, and these are current estimates from some of the vendors that we know of. This is not to say that sometimes they would be higher or lower, but this is just an estimation. Spay and neuter services, vaccination services, city impact. If we're going to take these animals, if we're going to allow them to be trapped and they're going to get spayed and neutered, they have to go somewhere. The vets aren't going to keep them, and if they do, it will be very expensive. So our proposal suggests buying additional temporary kennels to keep these animals in after their surgery for 10 to 14 days until they're well enough to go back out into the population and be returned to the location they were trapped at. I'm sorry, could you go back? So it's okay. Temporary kennels, we need additional animal traps, the signage I mentioned, and then there's the staff hours for cleaning the kennels. That would have to be done every day, and then managing the volunteers would be another human resource that we would expense on the city budget. And then we would microchip every one of them just to make sure that our cats, our TNR felines are known to us, so that if we encounter them again and it's a chipped animal, we know that it's one of our program animals. These are the estimated cost for the 6-month program only. So this is not an annual cost. This is just for the pilot. Some of those costs would be recurring. Others would not, like the temporary kennels obviously would last more than 6 months, as would the traps. And some of the other things, signage, safety equipment, things like that would be probably an every other year cost. But initially that it'd be just under $30,000 to start the program and run it for 6 months. These are some of the pros and cons. Most of them, there's a lot of controversy, as I'm sure you recall from previous council meetings. There's a lot of controversy on both sides of the issue. These are just some of the pros and cons that I was able to locate and in speaking with our animal control director. So it's still up in the air. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Any questions? I got one. Do we think 6 months is enough time to analyze whether this program works?
It's really, sir, not to analyze whether it's effective for the animals. It's to figure out if it's effective for this partnership. Just to evaluate that partnership and how we're moving along, because I don't want to give you estimates on cost and what we'll need if we're going into a year and in 6 months we realize, oh no, this is a fraction of what we're going to need.
And the trap cats that we collect, don't they have to be apart from our regular cats? Don't they have to be isolated?
Yes, sir, they do.
So we don't have the facilities for that.
We have some space, that's why we suggested 10 temporary kennels, but that limits us to 10 animals at a time for roughly a 2-week period. Because if we trap 10, get them all spayed and neutered, we have to take care of them for 2 weeks. We've got no place to house any others, 11 through 20. So we've got to wait until we can get those back out and return them to the area they were trapped.
Tom?
Do we have any models to follow? Is this protocol is this what League City did or some of the other cities did in terms of their pilot program?
It's really all over the place. There are some similarities in small factors, but not a model, no.
The biggest concern is that if they bring in diseases, I mean, it could be without a blood work, which we obviously can't afford. I don't know how you control that aspect of it and keep them in crates, for example, separated from each other. Hopefully it doesn't disease everyone else that's in there. I mean, that seems like a concern. We are talking about clipping as well. So is that an extra charge or is that included?
That's included, yes.
Included, so they would be clipped so we can visually see 25 feet away if it's one of ours or not.
Correct, yes, sir.
So, because microchipping means we trap them again.
Right, right.
Not going to be really feasible.
But there's also another issue. Ultimately, I mean, these programs, the objective is to attrit the population. So most vaccinations last for a year or two. We would be retrapping the animals. So the chip would really be so we could identify this is not a TNR feline from another location. This is one of ours. Or if we started seeing an influx of TNR animals, but they're not ours, then we've got another issue to deal with.
So the program at this point doesn't include getting them rehabilitated to be able to be given to a home or be rehomed, right?
No, so this is trap, neuter,
purely
release.
Trap, neuter, return.
Or, yeah, not release, return.
Yeah.
Correct.
Jackie?
Thank you for all your work you've done in this. I feel like we can go this route, though, without the city having to financially back it up. There seem to be a lot of nonprofit groups out there that are willing to take on that responsibility financially and the time to do it. And I'd like to see, I personally would like to see that, we go that route than using the city's funds and resources. Are we able to hear the presentation from the one we were sent tonight? Or that, I know we got a lot of emails today, but there was an email from the trap neuter.
I think we have. Yeah.
Okay.
We have this.
Yeah, I can amend it though. I spoke with another group. I'll speak after him.
Can we have her come talk to us for a minute?
You can ask her a question, yes.
My concern is the same as yours. It's the cost to the city and the risk to the city. And if we could, I believe it's appropriate to ask folks involved in it on the cat side of things to address specifically how we mitigate the cost of the city.
Come on up. Come on up so we can ask questions.
Stay up there, that's fine. Chief Nelson and I spoke on the phone on the 9th.
We just need to get you on record.
Yeah, sure.
She can't do a presentation, but we can ask questions.
Okay, Joanne Ashland, 307 El Toro Lane, Webster. Worked in my neighborhood in Piper's Meadow, which is Houston. Okay, I sent a presentation late yesterday, put together yesterday, so that is a 2.5-hour effort, okay? It needs amendment, first off. Partly because we're not discussing definitions at this point. And secondly, because I actually came up with an excellent program that will fill in the gaps with you. Today I spoke with the director of Friends for Life, which is an organization that has successfully done TNR pilot programs. It's headed by Celeste Shuttlesworth. She is a lawyer, first off. She graduated from UT Austin, has her law degree. She is also the person in charge of the program that has been used in one of the zip codes in Houston that reduced euthanasia by 40%, and put together a package which is actually copyrighted. And it includes what Council has previously mentioned to me that they were interested in, and that is putting the proposal together in a legal format that would protect the city. And let's see here. I jotted myself some notes on it. But it writes the presentation, writes the resolution for the pilot, share their standard operating procedures, train staff and volunteers, does a community outreach, volunteer recruitment, trapping and tracking, and then even putting together your statistics. With that, they also will do some of the information campaigns and also promote the successes that you have. So this lady is no just volunteer. She ran the emergency hospital and shelter provisions for Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. You want to know what a mess that was? She also did it for Harvey here in Houston. This is a lady with experience. She speaks very professionally. Me, I'm one person. But she has this program with volunteers. She provides those volunteers training. One thing I should mention that was mentioned to me, and what you mentioned, was basically vetting the volunteers that would come. I've gone out to my veterinarian. Actually, 2 out of 3 have already written me signed letters of my background and worthiness, I guess you'd say. I also made a trip out a week ago Saturday to the Houston Humane Society at Alameda and Beltway 8, spoke with with Danielle Schenkel, who's a volunteer manager, looked at her program there, which includes first video and online training for volunteers, then goes into a shelter experience training program, and then they want the people there to volunteer 2 days a week for a month. Or no, two days a month for a while. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, I think you're here so we can ask some questions.
Sure.
You can't do your presentation today. You're not.
No, and I'm not. And I'm saying I'm backing off from it because I actually want to run it by Ms. Shuttlesworth. And I want to amend it to what this council may need.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I've got a question.
Sure.
Referencing the chief's cost, $28,000, is that 6 months?
She thought it was reasonable.
Okay. And just echoing what Jackie said, I mean, the studies that I've seen that are online for TNR, they were over a 10-year period. And you multiply that out, we're talking well over $250,000. Now, you were mentioning, Jackie, that the money can come outside.
Sorry.
Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, is that what you propose, that you have nonprofit funding?
What I had put in my presentation to you guys was some ideas for then, for example, the traps, 10 traps. I can get you 3 right away. How long they'd last with some of these, use and misuse, we'll see.
I mean, I would be willing to support this if it was not the city involving
I think a lot of that can be. I mean, to be able to go out to hardware stores, to pet supply stores, to the pet food vendors, even write grants for this. I've written 83-page grants before to like Moody Foundation, to some of the.
So you think you can get the funding for this?
I think there are ways to get this. Even if some of it's piecemeal or in kind, I think there's ways to support this. And like I said, here's a vetted program that's already done this. And when she says this is reasonable, I would agree, and I would say support.
I don't think the cost is in
Chief Nelson.
I don't think the cost is in the traps. The cost is in the neutering. The cost is a vet. The cost is housing.
There are programs to help with that.
$3,000.
There are programs to help for that. For example, Fix Felix, which was which is actually tomorrow for Houston, is a program that is being funded for the Houston Humane Society, which is a nonprofit organization. And they are trying to do approximately 800 male cats. On the 29th, they've got 250 slots for spays. They're asking for a donation of $65.
This is
They can
all,
give rabies vaccines at the same time, obviously.
I really think that what we need is something specific that addresses how we're going to identify where the money's going to come from. I mean, it's great to say there are grants out there and this, that, and the other, but I think we really need to get specific.
That's why I say an experienced program would be the best way to speak. I would say first focus on talking with her, for example. She's willing to meet with, she's very open. Frank, I had a discussion with her directly today as well. Like I said, she vetted your program as a possibility. I, as you may know, am a read-home person rather than return. Hey, I've got a video with me of petting what used to be partly feral cat, now back.
Chief,
but yeah.
You and Gail be willing to meet with us?
Oh, certainly, yes. And I think that's the kind of thing that can be done in a committee. And I recommend a committee, whether it be you and Ms. Cook as city manager, and thank you for taking my call today.
Just get a little more information on.
Yeah, I think there's a
grants
lot of
and-
potential.
Well, potential is great, but we're looking at a program where we're spending $28,000 for the next 6 months for 100 cats. That's not.
And how
gonna
much is
fly.
paving and lane? That's true.
Not zero.
I think that's, yeah. I know, but
We're not talking about
yes, I can tell you.
math, unless my math is correctly wrong, it'd be pretty ambitious to get 100 cats with 10 traps.
A bunch of them are already
Oh,
trapped,
but
neutered, and released here.
If I may, there are 3 things that concern me about it, and I would want resolution before we really move forward.
Okay, go.
The specifics of where the money comes from, it's not that important as long as it doesn't come all directly from the city. It's not like we have 28 grand we can set aside for this right now.
And I said that to her.
In a 6-month pilot program, if it costs anywhere close to that, I would absolutely not vote to continue it.
Okay.
Regardless of how successful, how many cats it was. We just can't tack on $28,800 to our city budget every 6 months
I can tell you
without a concern. The other thing is a lot of the feeders, not the trappers, a lot of the feeders, you see paper plates down there, you see cut open trash bags. There has to be something to help maintain the trash that's down there, a designated feeding area, a designated trapping area.
Absolutely.
If we can't set specifically where it's going to be, then we just get into chaos. The third thing is the volunteers who direct and run it don't necessarily, because I don't think any of us know exactly what is appropriate training or what is not appropriate training. But the volunteers who run it are identified to the city staff with whatever forms are deemed appropriate as far as being a volunteer on city property to do what they have to do. And ideally, the volunteer structure out there could run this, make it happen with minimal to no involvement from the city. That's what we're hoping for. But if we don't achieve
That's how she ran
that,
it.
we got to see it. That's why
Yeah.
a 6-month pilot program. So those 3 things, if we can address those 3 things, I don't care where the money come from, as long as it doesn't come from the city. I'm willing to take a flyer on this, believing in these people that are out here wanting to take care of the cats and all the data you have. I'm going to believe in that, and I'm willing to take a risk that it's not going to be 28 grand. But if it's anywhere close to that, it's dead in 6 months.
That's fine. And I think you'd actually have a lot of success in 6 months. Some of these cats are able to be picked up. Actually, there was one that was given to me. All my other cats have been in my neighborhood. One was given to me as an emergency 10 days ago. That cat was placed yesterday in a home. And it's a pickup rural pets, house pet. A lot of these cats are abandoned. A number of them have been house pets before. They're not just all, total grown up in the wilds. I can tell you also, you're talking about 10 to 14 days. On the male cats, the situation now is they will use something, I'll just call it super glue, and dissolvable things, so a male cat can actually go back a lot quicker than 10 to 14 days. Now, if you're wishing to do the vaccinations, the rabies is good for 1 year. Supposedly, like in City of Houston, you can do for a 3-year after a slight period of time. You may consider doing that. FVRCP, the shot, is good for up to 3 years, depending on the manufacturer.
Ma'am,
You'd have to keep them for 2
ma'am, we're
weeks.
not going through a training period.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
there's another question.
Ma'am, I just wanted, just to piggyback off of Rob here, I'm okay, I mean, I think the rehoming is great if they're adoptable.
That's why I say triage.
And then also, I would like to, hopefully you can come back with saying that you have volunteers to, when these animals need to be, rehabbed or healing, that they can accommodate those cats, not the animal control. Okay, and then also, I'm not for the feeding of the animals. They live at a fish market. I don't think that's a whole nother separate issue that we need to tackle, but I think that's two different things that are coming up.
My statement is that feeding is not the answer.
Right, you gotta trap them, you gotta entice them into trap them, I get it, but not to just feed them like regularly, I don't think that's a good idea. That comes with a lot of other problems. Or feeding other animals, got fire ants on them. The trash alone, but anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Thank
One
you.
thing, if one were to totally take all the cats and everything out of your vacuum, you talk about, some of them talked previously about that. The other vacuum fillers can be things like other pests, rats, mice, vermin, which, guess what, controls it.
I think what we're saying is, if you can put us in touch with that grant.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I tried
discuss that
originally
with
to
her.
put together a packet of information, which I was told not to distribute back on the 23rd of January. But
We need to see what it is.
I think what we're needing is you to make the introduction of the lady that had the program that you referenced earlier with our chief. And
Love
then, and then they can then work out all the details on how to go forward with this.
yeah.
And bring it back to council.
We had a brief conversation, 45 minutes, on the 9th, about 3:30 p.m.
Okay. But that's where we have to go. So
I thought that,
Do I hear a motion?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to,
Explore.
What is the lady's name that is running the program?
yeah,
Sanise, Sanise, Shuttlesworth.
Okay, I move that we have our chief contact Ms. Shuttlesworth and explore what is needed for this program, and then come back at the council and make his presentation.
The funny thing is, she actually knows one of the people it feeds very well.
I'll second that.
That was a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor? Great, thank you very
Now
much.
that you've all voted, I went out to help tally the cats.
Okay. I'm sorry, ma'am. Okay.
So,
You
I'm
owe
another
the
one of
chief
the
an
people.
Yes, I know. Thank you, chief. Okay, moving on. 6.9, consider and take all appropriate action on the approval of task order number 2024-1 for professional engineering services under the master professional services agreement between the City of Seabrook and Cobb Finley for the Main Street wastewater treatment plant demolition, the amount not to exceed $98,200.
Good evening. 6.9 is in reference to task order number 2024-1, professional services for design and construction management. The Main Street wastewater treatment plant located on Main Street, which is relocating to 5001 Park Drive, will be the last phase of the HMGP project of relocating the wastewater treatment plant. So staff recommends moving forward with the professional services agreement.
Move to approve 6.9.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Good job, Kevin. Thank you. I'm gonna keep it short.
6.10, consider and take all appropriate action on the ambient sound level survey with Barron's Associates. in the amount not to exceed $8,350. This is an unbudgeted item and will require a budget amendment.
Mayor and council, this item was brought to you. We are continuing to have noise complaints and reference also over to the city's coffers of the 1.6 million. So to reiterate, the city has put aside 1.6 million that was given to the city by the Port of Houston. We have not touched that money. That was tied to originally the settlement of building a wall around the rail spur that's going off to the north. After the port was successful in getting 3 quiet zones that transect 146 and Old 146, it was settled in an amendment to the settlement agreement that 1.6 would be given to the city after those quiet zones were put in place. However, the rail spur is getting closer to actually becoming a reality. The port has a new contractor, Public Works, and myself have sat in on a couple of update meetings. So we believe in the next 3 or 4 months, the rail will actually go in and become live. Because that money was tied to the rail spur, I think this would be an opportunity for us to decide what we, want to do with the money, that it would mitigate first the rail spur, but at the same time, we could put our baseline reading to capture more than just the rail spur area and some of our complaint area as well. But I wanted to bring this forward. For us to properly mitigate and give direction in the future to what we want, we need to have that baseline, in my opinion, reading prior to the rail spur going in. So I'll take any questions.
One question, is this going to be after the center point wall goes up?
So,
I know they're close, but.
Right. By the time this is executed, I would assume 75% of that wall's up. We can pick where the sound locations are going along Loganberry and then along that rail spur area. I think in the proposal, we have 7 devices that'll take readings. So they will be scattered out throughout that area.
And so is it all just primarily on the west side of 146, or is it going to be on both the sound reading?
It would be the west around the rail spur area, yes.
Okay. And then, are they not, you said it was 72 hours they're going to do that?
Correct.
And then they're not going to let anybody know that we're going to do it those times so they don't try to be extra quiet like the Gion or, you know what I mean? We're not going to disclose when they're going to do it.
To those, no, there won't be any notices going out.
Okay.
The devices will be very prominent if they're on Loganberry or in Red Bluff, that they'll see them.
Okay.
But no, we won't be sending any notice. Okay.
Is Barron's and Company here, they're just going to do a survey, a sound level survey. They're not acoustical engineers, right?
They would do phase 2. So we talked about this would be if we chose to go with their company, this is baseline ambient reading. Ambient could pick up anything in the area, including if there's manufacturing noise as well. But the second phase, we'd have to come back post spur. Then all those modeling with that company could go into a wall design or a mitigation design.
Will, after the sound level survey, will they make recommendations?
They will, yes. And understand this is phase 1, so I'd be coming back with phase 2.
No, I understand. I know we're not going to get a design, but I would like to see some recommendations.
Yes.
Before we go ahead and spend the 1.2, I want to make sure it's in the right spot.
Correct.
And it's the right height, and it's the right material. And if they're going to make those kind of recommendations, that's great.
Yes, we talked through what we would envision as the entire process, and they could take us through that.
Okay. Mike?
So so are we leasing this equipment? So it's going to be out there 24/7, correct?
Correct.
The devices, right?
Mhm.
So we'll get to find out where we're placing those.
Well, they're going to place them.
They're going to place them, right? Okay, so this is basically just a lease for a little while then?
Right, so
And that pool of money is coming from the 1 point out of that money?
That's what I would propose when I come back to you on a budget amendment. Or, I mean, we could pull it out of general fund, but I would recommend first that we keep it all together with those funds.
Sure, because it's part of that. I would agree. I think it should fall under that. So,
Buddy?
Okay, if I understand it correctly, this is going to be establishing a baseline before the spur gets activated. Then we're going to go back after and do it again, and then we'll say, this is what we need to do to mitigate it.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve 6.10.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. 7.0 routine business, 7.1 city manager update and report to city council on various items that require no action, including Seabrook boards and commissions, State Highway 146 expansion projects, Port of Houston Rail Spur, City of Seabrook CIP projects, short-term rentals, and any City of Seabrook grant administration projects.
All right, Mayor and Council, I'll try to keep this brief. 146, I've no further dates. I've sent you communications of what we heard from TxDOT. So actually, Galveston Daily News called me today. They've contacted TxDOT. They've also been told date is to be determined. So I think all the papers have reached out to us. They're also trying to figure out when this is happening, and that's what we continue to communicate. On an up note, CenterPoint did reach out and state that they are finishing their electrical connection. So I'm taking that our stars will probably be illuminated here in the next week or so, but they're finishing all those connections. Up on the north. Oh,
Any
sorry.
word on painting the sails?
No, not yet.
Although we did get a reply to the sign.
Correct. So on the 146 project, for all council, it was going to be on a council agenda, but it ended up not being necessary. The signage that's up on the elevated structure, when you're coming northbound, it says Seabrook. Southbound, it only says NASA. So what the mayor was inquiring about is why can't we have Seabrook both northbound and southbound? So we've made that request via letter. And it's a little bit different than Kima. Kima was actually wanting to rename a street and had to change it. So they've acknowledged our request, and I haven't heard anything further at this point. So,
But there was an innuendo that it wouldn't be a problem to do that. So we should get it changed. It wouldn't be a problem.
there was earlier mention, again, on the other TxDOT project that's let on the north side, you're beginning to see the activity. So again, the high summary of that project is approximately 6 miles going back to the north towards the LaPorte area. They're adding additional lanes on both sides. So our current Red Bluff overpass, you can see the supports going in, and those are to add lanes on both sides. In a previous slide, again, we were successful, and they have already put the sidewall design into this intersection as well. It'll be slightly different because of the issue that we had with the fins being so sharp. They'll have a more of a curved edge, but our logo will be prominent on the sidewalls of this intersection. Mentioning that dilapidated intersection at Old 146 and Red Bluff, they did roll it into this project. However, we do not have a time that they've disclosed. Actually have very little communication with this team as opposed to the other team. So we're continuing to ask that question, but we have no idea. It could be pushed to the end of this 5-year project before they touch that intersection.
Who's the contractor on this portion?
This is Lone Star is the project management team, and Williams Brothers is the contractor.
Okay.
A few brief updates. Open Space, you got your quarterly. They'll have an upcoming meeting on March 7th in which we're anticipating NOREX and staff meeting back with Open Space. Economic Development Corporation, you got an email today inviting you over to their strategic planning session. So we are EDC, along with the facilitator, if you're able to make it on that date, would really like the collaboration of P&Z, EDC, and Council on some long-term economic goals. And that would be from 8 a.m. to 11 on that date. Their next meeting would then follow up on the 14th. P&Z met, will be meeting, met on the 15th, looking at an additional zoning amendment ordinance that will be coming to you on 10th. And then the Civil Service met on February 12th. We recently had a police officer exam, and they approved the eligibility list. No updates really on the short-term rentals. The list that was shown and sent out prior doesn't have any additions or any updates on those that were in pending status. And there was no complaints registered that were noteworthy. On CIP, we recently, in preparation for the State of the City, had, I think, a great filming with the mayor and Kevin Paget out there. Since then, there's a lot of rebar, if you can see, around the office building here. So they're anticipating doing the pours, you said this week? Tomorrow. Okay. Thursday or Friday. So this week, we'll start to see the concrete go in around the plant. So significant progress there. Internally on staff, we're in preparation also for the State of the City, also trying to talk about hopefully a ribbon cutting early, or what did we say? March. Early March. Second week of March is what we're looking at.
Will it be ribbon or toilet paper?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Speaking of the Center Point substation, went out there and just grabbed the latest picture. So if you haven't drove, this is what the 14-foot wall is starting to look like. And it looks like it's about at the halfway mark when you go out there.
Quick question, has anybody heard, like, has that helped? Has anybody said anything?
I've actually had conversations with two of the residents. I think the one is off of Loganberry, so she wasn't hearing any difference. And then the other person, they've actually, probably in the last day, put probably about 9 of these panels. So I would say tonight's probably going to be a good indication. She was still facing an open field when I talked to her. So and that concludes. Any questions?
Any questions? 7.2, establish future meeting dates and agenda items.
Mayor and council, the next meeting is scheduled for March 5th at 6 p.m.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? We adjourned, it's 9:10.
Do you want me to send? I'll just send it. It'll be clearer.
What I'm saying is that